November 6th. Our apologies. We are starting a little late at 1:57 today. Madam Clerk, can you please do the roll call?
Yes, Madam President. Director Waspy.
Aye.
Director
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Director Coffey.
Here.
Director Eccles. You're on mute. I see you there.
Yeah,
There you go. Director Rosario.
Here.
Director Wieskamp.
Here.
Director Corbett.
Here.
And also just to let you know that we have General Manager Doyle, District Counsel Victor, Deputy General Manager Alvarez, Assistant General Managers O'Connor, Kelchner, Acker. That's what I see right now. And Johnson. And District Counsel Victor, I hope I said that. And staff, thank you.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. I would like to ask Director Waspy to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right, thank you. Please join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the United States
of
of America,
America.
to
To
the
the republic stands with this nation,
one nation, under God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Sunday.
Glad I'm not leading an orchestra.
Thank you all very much. Sounded good to me. It always does. All right, thank you, Director Waspy. So we are here in accordance with Governor Newsom's executive order allowing board members to participate remotely. We're also providing live audio and video streaming and have provided the public the opportunity to submit written comments and also call in public comments on any item or on the staff reports, and also to call in and leave messages. I know we have some members of the public who will be here with us today live as well. And Madam Clerk, may I ask you please to remind us again the ways that people can participate in our meetings?
Yes, Madam President, they can participate in three ways. One way is just to send me an email at yburial@ebparks, letting me know that you're interested in commenting. The other way is by sending by leaving a voicemail at 510-544-2016, letting us know that you'd like to comment. And another way is by simply sending me an email, letting me know that you would like to comment and coming into the meeting and commenting. And so those are the three ways.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And as we all know, those are all posted on our agendas well in advance, so people have the opportunity to be part of our public meeting. So thank you very much for that. Board members, do you have any questions before we begin the meeting on any process or procedures? Everybody's okay? Great. Thank you so much. Then I know you've all had an opportunity to take a look at the agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Wieskamp and seconded by Director Rosario. Please call the roll on the adoption of the agenda.
Before we adopt the agenda, Madam President, if I may, Director Lane did ask about pulling an item. Is that pulling to vote separately
from the
or
agenda.
pulling item I?
That's just a vote separately under consent.
Under consent.
Okay.
We're just
So we're
adopting the agenda at this point.
We're just doing
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you,
I'm sorry.
I'm the
Just
one
wanted clear.
who does the consent calendar and mixes it up with the agenda. So
All right.
thank you. So please call the roll on the adoption of the agenda.
Yes, Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Eccles, Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
and Director Corbett.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Unanimous. Thank you.
So the agenda is adopted.
Mhm.
And Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment? No, we have some public comments on agenda items further in the agenda, but do we have any open public comments in general for us to share today?
Yes, we do. We have two. One is from Lori Swyaden, and then the other is from Christopher Newey. Lori, I don't see you, but I knew, oh, there you go.
Welcome, Ms. Swyden.
You have 3 minutes. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear
There
me?
you Okay,
Yeah.
now we can.
Yes, we
Thank
can.
you.
Thank you.
Real honor to be here. And thank you to Ms. Knight for helping me get here and get my name up there, because I also had no internet and had to go to a friend's house and set up here. So I am representing a whole neighborhood of East Richmond Heights from Del Monte Street down about 10 blocks of short streets that dead end in the park. And we are very concerned about the fuel load in the park abutting our neighborhood, which according to Chief Gibson of the El Cerrito Fire Department hasn't burned for over 100 years. And I looked on the map on your website to see where the projects were for clearance, you know, that 100-foot clearance, and I noticed that we were skipped. So I was wondering if there's a plan to actually do some clearance in that very heavy fuel load area abutting our houses, which quite a few houses. And if anybody knows about a plan afoot in the future to take care of us there and what we can do to help.
Yes, Ms. Swiden, we knew that you were commenting today, so we have a member of our fire department who, if they haven't already, will reach out to you and answer all your questions. And thank you so much for contacting us so we can be of service to you. So you will be contacted shortly. And is there anything else you would like to add? And we appreciate you speaking today.
Is that being contacted by email?
Do we have your, what would you prefer?
I don't know what the plan was, but I don't have internet connection, and they say it won't be until 11 p.m. tonight.
Okay.
So,
do you have a phone number? We're not going to share it publicly, but
yeah,
would you be able to, if you can get back in contact with Ms. Knight, share your phone number. We'll make sure it gets to the appropriate people to give you a call.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome. And if for some reason we don't follow up, please call us back.
I appreciate it. And I guess I'll leave the meeting at this point because I don't think I need to stay here, correct?
You're welcome. Yes. You're welcome too, but thank you.
I don't want to take my friend's computer space away from her, so I'm going to go. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Pleasure hearing from you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The next speaker is Christopher Newey. Oh, there you go, Chris. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Good morning, or I should say good afternoon, Chris. Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon. President Corbett, Board of Directors, General Manager. Chris Newey, President of ASME Local 2428, the labor union that represents majority of the classifications here at the East Bay Regional Park District. In March of this year, a joint labor management COVID task force was created to expedite communications and ensure the protections of employees' safety. Since the rollout of the COVID-19 operations, ASME task force representatives have expressed concerns on the language used for vehicle sharing and the messaging around this issue. ASME leadership continues to receive reports of employees either being assigned to ride in vehicles with 2 or more employees or being allowed to double up in trucks if they feel comfortable. When 2 or more employees ride in trucks together, they are less than 6 feet apart from each other for extended periods of time. This action increases the risk potential for exposure. Employees are not allowed to operate chainsaws without a helmet if they feel comfortable doing so, and so they should not be allowed to share vehicles just because they're comfortable. Through the task force, the ASME representatives have continually brought up this issue, and to this date, the district has brought no proposal to solve this safety problem. ASME has provided suggestions for language changes, but only a small amount of those suggestions were incorporated in the handbook, and very little messaging has reached supervisors for what is acceptable. With flu season here and COVID-19 cases expanding throughout their communities. Not correcting this problem puts employees in unnecessary risk and could lead to loss of productivity, and as a current practice can lead to additional testing or self-quarantine. So here's what we're asking. Direct your management to rewrite the protocols which clearly state that other than emergencies, occupying truck cabs with more than one person is prohibited. Allocate funds for vehicle rentals, vehicle towing, and other steps that would reduce the need for employees to share vehicle cabs together. Get the message to supervisors and managers that this is a serious matter. Employees cannot choose to increase their risks just because they are comfortable to do so, and that sharing cabs should only be done in emergency situations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for joining us. We have conveyed your message and it is hereby conveyed again. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. Do we have any other public comments during this period, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will now go to the consent calendar.
Well, we're not gonna skip General Manager Doyle's
Oh, yeah.
update like we did last time.
I do this every time too. I skip straight to the consent calendar and then our general manager politely gives the report right after. Are you sure we don't want to do consent calendar first, Mr. General Manager? It's been one of those days already. So thank you, Mr. General Manager. Please proceed. This is our special update that we have at each of our meetings on the status of the East Bay Regional Park District emergency during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I don't feel skipped. I just felt slightly postponed. That's all. So,
That's not so bad.
Make it very short today. I appreciate the President of the Union's comments today, and we take that very seriously, and we will respond, and I will personally pay attention to that myself. And that is a perfect lead-in to my comments on COVID. As you all are very aware, we have presented a strategic plan to move forward on reopenings of parks all the way into next year, hopefully even having a full opening sometime next year if things progress better. However, I want to reemphasize again that we will also pull back should we see a rise in COVID cases such as we are seeing, or that there are future restrictions by health departments in the East Bay or the governor. That is occurring, and I will ask the senior team to relook at those and make sure we are communicating what we should postpone. The changes that are being right now put out by health departments don't directly affect a lot of things we're doing now or on the top tier of reopenings, but with an abundance of caution, we will re-look at that and make sure the board understands what will be postponed even further. But I really want to emphasize that we should go back to our basics, and the basics are as simple as the mask, hand washing, not riding in cars with more than one person, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our staff and the public safe. I think that we really have to kind of be disciplined to get through this. And I do have to report, we have one more case of an infection. It was on a vacation outside the district, and that staff person has been isolated and is being attended to by the necessary medical reviews that are required. We also will have a follow-up with our protocols internally on making sure we understand how that infection occurred, but we keep the people and placement of that staff confidential for good reasons. The district I'm very pleased and appreciate particularly 2428's cooperation with trying to provide parks to people when they really need them, but safety has to be first. I am extremely concerned about what is before us in winter, And every estimate, although we've had some very good news lately about the efficacy of potential vaccines, it will be a long time before we can get that out to people. And we don't know what that priority will be. It will certainly be first line medical and nurses that will, and most exposed people that will need to get those vaccines the sooner the better. So that means we still have a long ways to go. And we just really want to encourage all the staff at all levels and the board, as much as we're all really tired of having to be restricted. It is now the winter. It's actually raining.
Oh,
that's great. Yeah. That's great. Maybe not in Livermore.
Not in Livermore yet.
But it just means that there is more spread potential with colds and other fevers that get people together, that could potentially even spread the virus. And as you all know, and I'm really pleased to see that our interim HR director just sent out a memo today reminding people to be extra careful over the holidays and to tell your families we've got one more season here. We're going to lose large gatherings for our holidays, and that's a very sad case, but it's not nearly as sad as somebody getting infected with COVID. So we just really want to encourage everybody, not just in the workplace, to take home and follow the rules to help your family and your loved ones stay safe, because we're going to have to be disciplined. We really are seeing an incredible surge across the nation and in California and in the Bay Area. So just really want to emphasize that. As far as the rain, I'm sure there is a chief in this agency that is finally getting a little more comfortable, and that is our fire chief, after a just horrendous year of fires. I'm glad that everybody's home safe. I'm extremely proud of the district's role out of county with the OES. They've gone to several different fires to help CAL FIRE and other communities. And I think we all should be extremely appreciative and proud of our fire department and our leadership in that department to get through another season, including tremendous winds in the Oakland-Berkeley Hills without a significant fire. And it's not an accident. We were there. We were doing evening patrols. We were staffing the stations. We were 100% focused on what might happen in those winds. And as you know, it kind of felt like a revolving door of opening and closing parks repeatedly based on the wind events, which are also a safety hazard, obviously, with tree limb falls, and some places had a wind around 60 miles per hour. But we did not get as bad as we thought we might get in the Oakland Hills. So very pleased with that. Finally, I would also like to acknowledge stewardship, and particularly Dr. Doug Bell, who has been working with CAL FIRE to mitigate the impacts of our very large lightning fires, particularly in the southern area of the district. Dr. Bell has been with both CAL FIRE in our helicopter looking at restoration of fire breaks and fire roads. And we actually are going to see, and there's been some very good articles out already about some of the areas now that were not super hot are going to recover very fast and actually be a much healthier, much safer environment, both for wildlife and for fuels management. So not all the news is bad on fires, but when you burn 4 million acres in California, it's a tremendous impact, not only on the environment and people, but on the air quality. And I think that we have talked a lot about climate change and fires, but when an event happens outside of the Bay Area that covers the Bay Area with smoke, some of that smoke are buildings and cars, we're really going to have to figure out a way to navigate through the smoke issue as well as the fire issue. And I think it's going to be a major challenge for our workforce and for the district and other communities in the future. We can't stop fires, but we've got to reduce the size and scale of these fires. And we have the tools. We just need a federal and state investment at a significant level to be able to help address these ongoing tremendous fires that we're now seeing in California. It is not sustainable. We have to do something. And the district is now spending $3 million a year, more than any other organization in the Bay Area, probably second to CAL FIRE, to do mitigation and to do fuel management. And I'm extremely proud of this board and this agency and the public to support us in doing that kind of work in our East Bay parks. So that's my update today. Please be safe. Have a great holidays coming up, but we're going to have to make some sacrifices to stay safe. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Excuse me, Mr. GM. And thank you so much for addressing the issue of vehicle usage and safety and distance in vehicles. Really appreciate that. So we now have come to the consent calendar. And Madam Clerk, I do know that we have a few items for public comments on the consent calendar, and those would be items D, F, and G. And I do know that Director Rosario has had his items addressed.
Yes, ma'am.
So we also have item I, which Director Lane would like to pull from the agenda.
Right.
And we have item K that Director Lane would like to speak to in the agenda. And also Director Lane also has L and M she'd like to speak to on the agenda. So probably we should take D, F, and G for public comments first. And do we have any other public comments on consent calendar items?
No, Madam President, not on consent.
All right, so let's do that first. Let's take the
Christopher,
comments first. Chris Newey, if you'd like to let him in. Excuse me, just for a moment. Director Lane, yes, please.
Yeah, I don't need any special information on L and M at this meeting.
Okay, so they can stay on the consent calendar?
Yes,
Okay, very good. Okay, but K still and I, right?
right.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, Madam Clerk, if you'd allow Mr. Newey in. There he
he
is.
is already here.
Welcome again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once again, yes, President Corbett, Board of Directors, General Manager, Chris Newey, President of AFSCME Local 2428. On this item, I would like to start by thanking the Deputy General Manager, Dr. Alvarez, for involving AFSCME Local 2428 in the consultant selection process. In a perfect world, we may have had more time to review the proposals, so we could have utilized AFSCME's entire workforce diversity committee to provide feedback, but the level of partnership and transparency through the process was much appreciated. As we move forward, it will be vital to continue to collaborate with the labor partners to ensure that this process has the highest level of transparency. Please reach out to AFSCME Local 2428 leadership if there's a possibility of AFSCME assigning labor representatives to some sort of work group or task force that would expedite communications and get updates throughout the process. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right. And I believe, Mr. Newey, you also would like to speak on item F.
I would, thank you. Once again, President Corbett, Board of Directors. My name is Chris Newey, President Local 2428. In a recent conversation with one of the Civicor crew leaders, they expressed concerns on the types of projects that were being assigned to Civicor crews when working for the East Bay Regional Park District. They talked about how when they're working with other agencies, there's the experience that the crew members are getting really aligns with the career opportunities at that agency. So they could, perform these tasks over a period of time and get the experience and skills needed to then apply for that agency to, start their careers there. They felt that much of the tasks being assigned by the East Bay Regional Park District had little options to develop applicable skills, and that would help the crew members gain employment by such agencies, such as the East Bay Regional Park District. ASME Local 2428 supports the mission of Civic Corps schools to provide young adults in our communities with the skills that will serve them to start sustaining careers. We do share those concerns with the Civic Corps crew leader that the Park District is somewhat using Civic Corps as cheap labor rather than ensuring it as a career development program. We hope some attention could be put towards these type of programs, or else there may come a day where AFSCME will no longer support this contract or other contracts of the same sort. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Newey. And I think you have one more item G, you would like to speak on?
Yes. Once again, Chris Newey, president of Local 2428. Over the years, ASME's conversation with the board of directors, the topic of improving transparency has been brought up. I would like to call the attention to an outstanding information request that the union has on the compensation report for the management and confidential employees. When ASME made this request, we were told that the report was still in draft and it would not be shared until finalized. This is troublesome because we're aware that management has shared it with the board of directors. By sharing it with the board, but unwilling to share with the laborer, makes us question the district's motives. We are quickly approaching contract negotiations, and as you should be aware, many of ASME represented classifications, wages, and benefits are below competitive packages for comparable agencies. Withholding or delaying ASME's ability to see where all district employee groups fit in to the local labor market questions the district's intentions and hurts transparency. There is already a level of distrust between ASME Local 2428's membership and management. Withholding information, even if it's in draft form, perpetuates that distrust. District management team, please share the draft report so we can build the trust amongst the workforce and the management team. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Newey. And although the board is still discussing the report, I did want to inform you that it will be released tomorrow. So please look for notices in your emails. Are you still there?
Yes, thank you. Oh, we appreciate it and look forward to seeing.
We're happy to report that to you. Thank you. All right, very good. Okay, are there any other public comments on consent calendar?
No, Madam President.
Okay, all right, so let's move to, let me know if I've missed anything. I think the next item should be item I. Let me ask Director Lane, would you like to make comments on that at this time, or would you like to pull it for a report and vote on it separately?
No, I don't need any additional information on it. I just, as a matter of course, think that when you have a authorization that talks about this amount of money, over $2 million, that it should be voted on separately.
Okay, very good. We'll pull that for a separate vote, and we will ask Captain Breed to speak to it.
Sure.
Thank you very much. And then item K.
Oh, yes. On item K, I'm always interested in watching the water trail progress. And I had a question about, I'm glad to see the trail information here, but I wanted to know what the status of the kayak landing is at Point Pinole. Has that been completed yet, or where is it?
You see Mr. Rasmussen with an answer.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Assistant Finance Officer Jeff Rasmussen and Director Lane. That project was put out to bid and we opened bids last week. And then we're preparing to bring that to the board for potential award in January with construction by summer of 2021.
Thank you.
Okay, great news. Thank you so much. Were there any other items, Madam Clerk?
No, Madam President.
Okay, so what we shall do is we will, as mentioned, pull item I, and then there is a motion in order on the remainder of the consent calendar. So the entire consent calendar without I. A motion's in order. Moved by Director Wieskamp, seconded by Director Rosario. Please call the roll on the consent calendar.
Yes, Madam President. Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
and Madam President Corbett.
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimously approved.
Unanimous. And let's move to item I. And I believe Captain Breed is prepared to make a comment on this item. So if you would like to
Yes.
allow him in.
I am here. I can do a screen share.
Thank you, Captain Breed. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Let's see here, screen 2. Okay. Can you see my screen?
There it is.
Eagle 8.
All right. Good afternoon, Madam President and members of the board. I'm Lance Breed, Captain in charge of Police Operations. I will give a brief overview of the Eagle 6 to Eagle 8 replacement project, the authorization to purchase Eagle 8, and the recommended sole source contract with Hangar One Avionics Incorporated to install and commission the required avionics and specialized mission equipment suite, as discussed in the October 20th board presentation. Just as a reminder, we are replacing Eagle 6, which is an AS-350B2 helicopter, with the latest H-125 per board approval on October 20th. The H-125 is the new name for the latest generation, more powerful Airbus AS-350 helicopters. Eagle 6 was purchased in 1999 as a 1998 model. It's completed its effective service life of 20 years. The performance of Eagle 6 significantly less than the capabilities of Eagle 7. In fact, Eagle 8 will have incrementally better performance than Eagle 7, and it will have the latest crash-resistant fuel tank and crash-resistant crew seats. As a reminder, as part of the project, the district hired Conklin de Decker in March of 1999 to do a comprehensive study on the air support unit. The study made recommendations on aircrew models and aircraft. The district helicopter oversight committee recommended the Airbus H-125. As you are aware, the air support unit currently utilizes the American Eurocopter AS-350B2 Eagle 6, purchased in 1999, and the American Eurocopter AS-350B3 Eagle 7, purchased in 2008. The board approved the purchase of Eagle 8 to replace Eagle 6 in October. The completion contract for the mission suite installation is to be awarded upon the selection of the most qualified vendor. After the board meeting in October, the airframe was ordered, and now we need to move forward with the mission suite completion. The district's air support unit has 5 primary mission roles. First is police patrol. Second is fire reconnaissance and suppression. Third is direct action and remote operations. Fourth is search and rescue and coordination. And fifth is administrative flights. All of these missions require specific types of mission equipment. So I'll move on to mission equipment. In order to effectively conduct these missions, the following equipment is needed. First are the communication systems, and part of those are the radios. And as a reminder, some of the radios were funded through the California State Homeland Security Grant Program, SHISHCAP, in 2017. It provided multi-band communications for the missions assigned to the aviation unit. Secondly, the MX-10 camera and IR systems was also partially funded in 2016 through the Urban Security Grant Funding, State of Homeland Security Grant Program. This provides HD quality imagery in both color and IR. Third is the GPS moving map system. The Aero Computers Mapping System is a sophisticated system that allows GIS to add all types of district boundary and infrastructure information into the system. Fourth is the digital HD multi-fuser downlink system. The downlink system will allow up to 250 individual users to access HD imagery in real time from the helicopter via a secured cloud-based server. And as a reminder of the grant funding through the Bay Area Urban Securities Initiative was requested on the October 6th board meeting. This would allow the addition of HD digital downlink to Eagle 7 to match what we're doing with Eagle 8 in this project. So moving on to vendor selection. The district obtained 3 bids from qualified vendors. All were FAA certified and capable. So why Hangar One? Hangar One is a California-based company provided the lowest responsible bid. Additionally, Hangar One was selected and completed the 144-month airframe inspection and installed the mandatory replacement mission equipment on helicopter Eagle 7 earlier this year. Hangar One is the leading FAA certified helicopter avionics repair station specializing in installing avionics and mission equipment, known for its high standards in professional management, workmanship, and timely project completion. Hangar One possesses unique proprietary knowledge of the district's aircraft, complex mission technologies, having completed installations in both current district aircraft, Eagle 6 and Eagle 7. Hangar One's factory authorized technicians have delivered an exceptional on-schedule performance in all prior installation work. By selecting Hangar One Avionics to complete the Eagle 8 project, it will ensure that both district helicopters are formatted in the same manner, utilizing the same technical drawings, component placement, and FAA approvals. We did receive 2 other bids on this project. They were both FAA certified and factory certified. One was in California, one was in Louisiana. And they had comparable experience, but both bids were considerably higher than the one from Hangar One. Budgetary considerations. Budgeted funds are available for this purchase. A major equipment replacement project was established for the replacement of Eagle 6, which has allowed the Park District to set aside replacement costs over multiple years. This project has been accruing funds annually and received an additional $770,000 through mid-year 2020. The project fund 158,700 currently has $2,215,362.52 remaining, which is expected to cover the cost of the installation and commissioning of all necessary mission equipment for Eagle 8. So as you'll follow along on this chart, the cost of the Airbus H125 is reflected in the $3,770,000. The mission suite equipment would be $2,159,000. So if you follow over to the right in the right-hand column in gold, the project originally started with $6,02,710. When you factor in the cost of Eagle 8, which was approved on October 20th, with left a remaining $2,215,000. The mission suite equipment, as I've discussed, is going to cost $2,159,000, which would leave a remaining balance of $56,000 in the budget. So let's have a recap of how we got to this point. Selection process. We secured a consultant to study the operations for the next generation helicopter. We conducted the study, received and reviewed consultant recommendations. We determined recommended aircraft, secured funding for purchase. We have ordered the helicopter. We are now need to contract installation of the mission equipment and related systems with expected delivery and commissioning of Eagle 8 in the third or fourth quarter of 2021. So the recommendation before you today is to move forward with a sole source contract with Hangar One Avionics Incorporated to install and commission the required avionics and specialized mission suite equipment for the district's new Airbus H-125 aircraft, Eagle 8, at a cost of $2,159,352.20. I am open for question or comments.
Thank you very much, Captain Breed. Do board members have any questions on this item? I know there has been previous presentations. Any additional questions on this item? Yes, Director Waspy, do I see your hand? You're muted.
Yeah, Lance, thanks for the great presentation, and I look forward to this new copter coming online. I have to ask the question though. So, with the 5 things you described as part of the avionics and the mission suite equipment, I got to ask this: you can't take that stuff off of Eagle 6 and put it on Eagle 8. One of the items you referenced was from 2016. I know that the ship is old. Is the equipment that old that we can't reuse it?
That is a great question, Director Waspy. The answer is no, we cannot reuse it. So just like we went through with Eagle 7, everything has a lifespan. So every 10 to 12 years, we update the mission suite equipment and all related requirements in the helicopter. Eagle 6 had that about 12 years ago. So now it's past its 20-year lifespan. So it would need another upgrade if we were going to go that route. Obviously, we're not. We're going with a new H-125. So the equipment that is currently in Eagle 6 would not transfer over. But what I did want to note is that we have been planning for this for quite some time. So a lot of the equipment I referenced going back to 2016 has been part of our plan. We got a percentage of funding to fund a lot of these items. For instance, the radios, a portion of the infrared camera, so on and so forth. So it didn't pay for everything, but we got incrementally small portions of money to help mitigate and offset the cost of the helicopter.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, would anybody like to, thank you, Captain Breed. I would just say thank you so much for choosing Maine, California. That's important to all of us. Appreciate that. And Director Lane has her hand up.
I will certainly second that. And I thank you for the very complete report. I'd like to move the item.
Thank you very much. Moved by Director Lane, seconded by, okay, don't all raise your hands at once.
I think it's Director Eccles.
Director Eccles is seconding. Okay, thank you so
second
much. Seconded by Director Eccles. Please call the roll on this item.
Yes, Madam President. Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Waspy.
Aye.
Director Coffey.
Aye.
Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Madam President Corbett.
Aye, unanimous.
It is unanimous.
We look forward to seeing it in the sky. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the great work you've been doing this difficult year. Thank you. All right. So we are now moving to the portion of the agenda where we discuss acquisition, stewardship, and development issues in that division. And our first item, item A, is with regard to approval of a sanitary sewer system management plan update in accordance with the State Water Resources Control Board regulations. And I would like to invite our Chief of Stewardship, Matt Grawl, to introduce that subject and also introduce Becky Tudin from our Environmental Services Manager. And they will be presenting both items A and B is a public hearing. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, President Corbett, members of the board, Matt Grawl, Chief of Stewardship for the East Bay Regional Park District. And I also have Becky Tudin with me. Becky is the district's Environmental Services Manager and oversees a lot of our environmental compliance programs, among many other projects. And we also may have Paul Causey with us today to answer any questions. Paul is a consultant that helped us develop some of these changes and recommendations. And Becky, we need to change the display settings. Thank you. Okay, and we can go to the first slide, or the next slide. So thank you, members of the board, for the opportunity to present and talk about this today. For those of you who did not hear our presentation of the exec committee a few weeks ago, it may be a bit of a surprise as why we're here. Why does the district need to have sanitary sewer management plans? Well, because we're not a sanitary, may not consider ourselves a sanitary sewer management agency and think this might only apply to sewer districts. But because the district has over 1 mile of publicly owned sewer line that discharges to a publicly owned treatment system, we're required to have sanitary sewer management plans in place. And so this applies just to 4 of our parks: Anthony Chabot, Coyote Hills, Del Val, and Guerin. Now, at all those sites, Anthony Chabot, Coyote Hills, and Guerin, we discharge to another publicly owned treatment works. But at Del Val, we discharge to our own evaporation ponds. And so all those systems are unique, but we've had limited issues with these systems over the years. But we've been managing them and maintaining them for many years. And we developed our first sanitary sewer management plans back in 2006. We worked on them at the staff level for several years, started implementing them just after 2006. And we've made various revisions over the years. In 2012, the sanitary sewer management plans were first adopted by the board of directors. There were some changes in the regulations that required the board to adopt the plans. And so they've been in place for a number of years. In 2013, the state promulgated some new monitoring and reporting requirements, and we've adapted our plans accordingly. Becky, can I have the next slide? Okay, and so in 2019, the Water Board did an inspection, and they evaluated some deficiencies in our program, but really just we need to put in some more details in some of these areas. And so Becky's going to talk more about some of the modifications we've made and the plans that are before you today.
You're on mute, Becky. Becky, you need to unmute yourself. You're still on mute. Let me see if I can help you.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Now,
Yes.
Yeah.
Madam President, members of the board, Becky Tudin, Environmental Services Manager. I'm glad to be here on this rainy day with you to talk about sanitary sewer. There's many programs that we work on in the district that really touch all departments and all divisions, but this one really did. And I just want to say that we worked very collaboratively. When in 2019, in early 2019, we were just rolling along with our regular operations and maintenance and our park management of these systems on a park by park basis when the Water Board came and did an inspection of our 4 parks. And I think what they were focused on really during those inspections is not just seeing the day-to-day, but seeing that it was well managed and that it really had a broader, more comprehensive management program than we had in place. And they identified a few issues. One was that they said that we had not completed or we weren't really as familiar with the sewer conditions that we had of our gravity lines, and they felt we should have more information on them. They wanted us to have an overflow emergency response plan, which our individual parks did have their own plans or their own way of responding to potential spills, but they wanted a district-wide comprehensive approach. They also felt that we could really improve on the documentation of the spills that we had, how we calculated them, how we followed up on them, as well as making sure that we were more timely on our no spill reporting. And then they looked at our Ordinance 38 and felt that our existing legal authority was not sufficient. So they wanted us to update that to give us that legal authority to prevent illicit discharges to sewer. And that's the second item on this action that we're hoping the board can approve. And they also wanted to look more comprehensively at our long-term funding and make sure that we had sufficient funding in the case of any infrastructure failures in the future. So we worked together across multiple divisions to prepare a completion report on how we would meet those deficiencies. And we worked very closely with Kelly Barrington of MAST and Eric Bowman, who retired, Steve Castile of Ops. We pulled in our water quality monitoring supervisor, Hal McLean, and also worked with DECO on Stacy Hogan Battaglia on doing this sewer condition assessment. It really was a multi-divisional effort. And we prepared a completion report, which led to a new sanitary sewer management plan, which incorporates all of the changes that we need to be in compliance, and then have the board adopt them by the end of 2020. And I'm afraid I don't have pretty pictures, but this picture on the left here is the Anthony Chabot vault below the communator. Moving along. So I'm just going to walk you through the progress that we've taken since 2019. First, we did an audit of our parks and program, and I want to give kudos here to Paul Kazi. He was the consultant that we hired to work on this. Very knowledgeable, gave us a big picture on what we needed to do, but he was also very practical and grounded in, what's real and what can we reasonably accomplish. And we could not have done this without his comprehensive look at our program. And in doing the audit, he basically, the results are in your packet, the full audit, but it would have been very helpful if we clarified the lines of communication and responsibility across the district, rather than having it be case by case, really be more proactive in defining that. And then we also worked with DECO to do an asset inventory and condition assessment. That was just completed, I think, last week, not in time to be put into the staff report, but it will be put into the final SSMP. And what we did was we actually geographically referenced those gravity lines that we have, which had not been put onto our GIS system. And we cleaned some of the lines and cameraed all of our gravity lines to find out whether there were any structural or maintenance fixes that would be needed, and then rated those to determine which ones should be addressed first. And then we decided, we really should do that with our forced mains as well, and put that on the schedule to do, to initiate in 2021 and complete in 2022. And we also worked very closely with dispatch and operations and MAST to put together an overflow emergency response plan that clearly documents the roles and responsibilities. It has a flow chart, and in each step, what's happening and who you contact, and what are the agencies you need to notify or steps you need to take. And for this pretty picture, this is our Vector truck that was purchased a few years ago, and it's addressing a clog in a sewer line in Coyote Hills. So just continuing on with these updates and improvements that we've made over the last year, I do want to emphasize that we really didn't fundamentally change our program. We just did a much cleaner sweep, spring cleaning, house cleaning of those elements that we needed to standardize across the park and be more proactive in being prepared for them. If you look at the SSMP, instead of having 4 individual plans, we now have all of the parks in one plan, and we will have those field verified maps and assets in the plan. And with operations and maintenance, instead of leaving it up to each individual park to decide what their schedule should be, we set up a minimum of once every 4 years. You can do it more frequently, but that's the minimum for cleaning and a camera inspection of the lines, and MAST will be in charge of documenting that. And then we looked at root foaming needs, and that will be handled by park operations and determined at a minimum every 2 years. So another avenue that we really worked on, as I mentioned, was the spill response, where we have workbooks for staff, defines who to communicate and follow through with, as well as a water quality monitoring plan. Again, we have a water quality program, but this just in case there's a 1,000-gallon spill, we don't have to think about it. We just pull it out of the plan. And then the last item that the water board wanted us to look at was just to make sure that we had sufficient fiscal commitment. Now we're waiting for the results of the assessment and inventory report, as well as this force main condition assessment in 2022. But in looking at what we have, we estimate that we have sufficient funds in our Mass Utility Fund 553, between 150 and 250,000 a year, that will meet our future infrastructure needs. And then we did put together language for updating Ordinance 38, the illicit discharge prohibition. And this singular Ordinance 38 revision is separate from the regular review that we will do every 2 years. But it does define an illicit discharge to sanitary sewers, and it prohibits that discharge throughout the district. And this picture here is from Anthony Chabot. It's a sewer line that was exposed during the big rain events in 2017 that was repaired using our routine maintenance permits. So just looking forward to how we will stay on top of these requirements. We will be doing an audit every 2 years to evaluate our program. We'll be formally logging any change to our management practices, and as required, we will bring it to the board to update and adopt every 5 years. And just thinking really long-term about some of our infrastructure needs. Again, we don't have the evaluation of our asset reports yet, but we do know that the Anthony Chabot sewer line, it's already been identified as needing replacement. It's very difficult to maintain and clean because of the distance between cleanouts, as well as it runs along a creek and over a bay. So we'll be looking at that in the next year or so, as well as needing to consider the liner and its integrity for the Del Valle sewage pond because of all of our water conservation methods, as well as just reduced use this last year. We're seeing some exposure of the liner that we'll want to look at more closely. So our recommendation from staff is that the board of directors approves the proposed update to the sewer system management plan and the revisions to Ordinance 38 so that we can ensure compliance with state requirements. Thank you. And please do feel free to ask me questions or our consultant, Paul Cazu, who is in the meeting with us.
Thank you very much. I'll call for any questions. We did have this presentation in the executive committee already, where I think members of that committee probably had their questions answered. Is there anyone else with additional questions on this item? See none. And Director Eccles, since you're coming in by phone, anything from you? Okay, I see no questions on this item. I do know, and thank you very much for this thorough report. I know that our next item on our agenda also includes the adoption of the change in the in Ordinance 38. But let me stop for just a moment. We do have a public comment on this item. So let's take that, and then we'll go back and bring a motion on the resolution to adopt the report, and then we'll have a motion on the amendment to the ordinance. Madam Clerk, can you please find our public commenter for us?
Yes, it's Kelly Abreu, and he was just here. Kelly,
Yeah.
if you're, oh, there you go.
I'm still here.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Notice this is yet another change to Ordinance 38. And I'd like to remind everyone that we need to talk about subsections of Ordinance 38, like we talk about the the amendments to the Constitution. You know, name them off, number them, and learn the details of Ordinance 38. Because when somebody throws out the word Ordinance 38, it's actually longer than the United States Constitution. And this kind of cruft, this kind of layers of sedimentation, additions and modifications make it longer and longer. And we're never going to stop that. So all we can do is divide up and name the subsections. I'd like to harken back and remind everyone of what Napoleon said a couple of hundred years ago. He said, the amateurs discuss tactics, the professionals discuss logistics. And in the spirit of Napoleon, I'd remind everyone that the amateurs talk about parks and trails, and the professionals talk about toilets and sewers. And if you look at that cell phone data that the Park District collected, very high-tech cell phone data on where are the visitors coming from, there are only 2 parks that had enough data, enough real visitors, enough bodies with phones showing up at the parks to make it onto the top 2 list for detailed study. That was Lake Chabot and Mission Peak. And which one of those 2 do you suppose doesn't have the benefit of a sewer? And which one of those do you think is on a month-to-month lease? And which one of those do you think needs a sewer? Because it has a lot of people and it needs sewage. That would be Mission Peak. And so when we talk about sewage, all these little details about costs and things that you heard, those pipes are actually a lot cheaper than running a truck out every day or every week and pumping sewage. And when that truck crashes, by the way, that's a sewage spill, by the way. And when that truck is driving around, that's carbon emissions. You know, those pipes are incredibly efficient, and all that pipe maintenance is a big cost savings. And it's actually more sanitary, maybe. So I would urge you to think about sewage and think about toilets and think about advanced sanitation at Mission Peak. And by the way, when the Mission Peak, the main entrance has 4 toilets. And when they were put in, I was told that they were temporary. The other 3, you know, there was 1 there and then there are 3 more. And they're still there. They've been sitting there for 5 years, relieving that toilet line. That was an amazingly long toilet line that was proof that the park was overused and needed to be shut down. But the park is doing fine now. And the toilets need perhaps some planning for sewage, because we can't rely on expanding the parking lot and putting in new restrooms, can we? That was approved in September of 2016, and we lost the money for that project, the parking lot toilet project. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Board members, do you have any questions on the report? Do you have any questions on the ordinance? All right, a motion is in order on the adoption of the report. Who would like to make that motion?
So move.
Moved by Director Wieskamp, seconded by Director Waspy. Please call the roll on the adoption of the report.
Yes, Madam President. Director Lane?
Aye.
Director Wieskamp?
Aye.
Director Eccles?
Aye.
Director Coffey?
Aye.
Director Waspy?
Aye.
Director Rosario?
Aye.
And Madam President Corbett.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. That is unanimous. And then the next motion is on the adoption of the addition to Ordinance 38. And I would agree with Mr. Abreu that it is important that we unravel the mystery of Ordinance 38 from time to time, because it does have quite a few items in it. And maybe at some point we will, in fact, I know we will schedule that at some point for more fuller discussion on 38. But what's before us today is the adoption of the amendment, Section 811, that is required by the state of California that we have some enforcement powers. And does anybody like to make the motion to amend?
Madam Corbett, this is a public hearing, so you're going to need to open.
Yes. That's right. My apologies. I was on a roll.
You're doing good.
We have a public hearing on this item because it is an amendment to the ordinance. Madam Clerk, would anybody like to speak on this public hearing?
I do not have any speakers.
Yes.
All right, so the next item would be a motion to close the public hearing.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Moved by Director Lane and everyone else, seconded by Director Wieskamp. Please call the roll on the closure of the public hearing.
Yes. Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
and Madam President Corbett.
Aye. The public hearing is closed.
Close
So a
and
motion of
moved.
the amendment to the ordinance is in order. Did I hear aye from Director Eccles? I mean, a motion from Director Eccles?
No, I think that was Director Wieskamp. I'm not sure.
Director Wieskamp, of the two people I cannot
Make it.
see. Director Wieskamp, would you like to make that motion?
I would love to make that motion.
All right, who would like to second that motion? Director Rosario. All right,
Okay.
so motion by Wieskamp, seconded by Rosario. Please call the roll on the amendment to ordinance 38 to deal with illicit discharges into the sanitary sewer system.
Yes, Madam President. Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
and Madam President Corbett.
Aye. Adopted.
Unanimous.
Wow.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much for the presentations, and thank you for the consultant also to be available in case we had questions. Thank you all. All right. Our next item is item C, and this is an authorization to modify the existing option purchase and sale agreement with Michael and Rebecca Guarini to include the purchase of the entire 186.47 acre Guarini property at Las Trampas Wilderness Regional Preserve. And we have a presentation by our Chief of Acquisition, Michael Reeves. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Corbett, members of the board. Mike Reeves, Chief of Land Acquisition. And I'm going to share my screen on this first item. Okay, you should all have the full image on your screen. Is that correct?
We don't see the
I
image.
don't have anything.
Okay, we're off.
We see the map behind you, but not the one.
It's not very clear though.
You have a map of that at home? Oh my God.
Let's try this again.
We'll blame it on the rain.
Nothing is quite cooperating today.
No, a few technical glitches today.
There it
There
goes.
it is. A
Oh,
beautiful photo. There it is.
This takes practice, all of this, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, but we're doing just fine.
We've got it.
It's a beautiful picture. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Up.
Very nice.
Are we seeing the full screen image now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And this is an image from the top of the Guarini property along Rocky Ridge, looking generally to the south or southeasterly. Guarini property, 186 acres, and you see its location there. It is literally sandwiched between parklands within Las Trampas Wilderness Regional Preserve. And it also straddles Rocky Ridge, which runs along here. This is also the Contra Costa Alameda County boundary. So the property straddles both sides of that boundary and is in both counties. 680 here, you can see this dashed green line here. This is Rocky Ridge View Trail, which currently terminates at the Guarini property boundary. And then the north side of the property fronts onto Bollinger Canyon Road. So this is Bollinger Canyon through here. So last April, the board approved an option purchase and sale agreement with the Guarinis to acquire the 62-acre portion of their property located in Alameda County. This is the backside of the property. So again, for orientation on this map, you have Bollinger Canyon Road. This is the entrance into the Guarini property. It's located directly across from our park offices. And again, you have Rocky Ridge View Trail here. And this 62 acres is characterized by it's vacant, open space, very scenic lands along the southern flank of Rocky Ridge. So that April board authorization was to acquire the 62 acres. In addition to that, a trail easement that would allow us to connect across the property with an extension of the trail there along the ridge line onto the balance of parklands to the east of the property. And that would also serve to, again, protect the scenic open space along Rocky Ridge, and also to protect part of the upper Bolinas Creek watershed, which flows down off of the property and surrounding parklands to the south. So that was in, again, April of this year. In June of this year, the Guarinis approached the Park District staff, indicating an interest in seeing if we would be interested in purchasing their entire property, including the residence where they live. And the reason for that is that the Guarinis have plans to relocate to a property that they own in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we are interested, and staff went to the board to explain this opportunity, and at board direction, we have negotiated a purchase and sale agreement, or a modification of our existing purchase and sale agreement, to include the acquisition of this entire 186 acres of land, which includes a residence, 1,400 square foot residence, and a 3,300 square foot metal shop building. And if you can make out here on the map, you can see the location of the Guarini residence here, a little ways uphill. We'll have a look at that in a view. And then this is the metal shop building close to Bollinger Canyon Road there. What this would do, obviously, would be to close a very significant landscape that is divided by the Guarini property. So this would solidify protected parklands south of Bollinger Canyon Road in this part of Las Trampas Wilderness. Again, it would allow us to extend the Rocky Ridge View Trail southeasterly along the ridge line there. The site at the base of the property along Bollinger Canyon Road provides a potential opportunity to develop a future staging area that would allow for public recreational trail access up to Rocky Ridge View Trail. And you can see the white line here running through the property, which is the ranch road that takes you from Bollinger Canyon up to the house and then continues on through some very scenic portions of the property up to the ridge top there. The house itself would be a suitable for staff residence that could provide park security in that area. And then the shop building could be serve as an adjunct facility to the park offices located on the other side of Bollinger Canyon Road. Very convenient, very close to the existing park offices. So we're going to look at some photos now. We're at Bollinger Canyon Road, and we're looking at the gate, the entrance gate to the Guarini property. That's on the left. On the right, where we've gone in a few feet there, and we're turning back and we're looking back at Bollinger Canyon Road. And it's obscured by the vegetation here, but behind these trees is our park offices. So it's literally right across the street. And then you cross a creek and you get to this large pad, this large graveled open area where the 3,300 square foot metal Butler building is situated. Here's a couple inside photos of the building. The Guarinis, both of the Guarinis, husband and wife, are engineers, and they are very active in property maintenance and in design work related to their area of expertise. So this is their equipment that supports that. This is the bridge I mentioned that goes across the creek. And then the paved driveway. So the driveway up to the house is paved. This is an exterior view of the house. Again, it's 1,400 square foot house, 2 levels. The bottom level is a basement with additional workshop areas. And here's a few photos of the upstairs living area. It's an open floor plan, so although it's a rather modest 1,400 square feet, the open floor plan avails really has a lot of utilization for the interior there. And again, it's very well maintained. That's just in the nature of the way the Guarinis operate. And now we've traveled all the way from the house up to the top of the property. This is just a couple of views to share with you from the ridge line there. This is looking north and east, and this is looking south and west. So again, the terms of the proposed modified option purchase and sale agreement would be to acquire the entire 186 acres of land together with the 1,400 square foot house and 3,300 square foot metal shop building. Purchase price is $2.7 million. And this opportunity is another of many stories that combine both the pandemic and the effects of the pandemic and the effects of the wildfires that we've been experiencing in the state. So when the Guarinis first approached us to inquire about our interest in acquiring the entire property, and we moved into a contract that they have signed, shortly after signing that contract, their Santa Cruz property was consumed by the CZU fire in Santa Cruz Mountains. And so that was severely damaged. Their interest is still to relocate there, and they have designs and plans to build that property out and build it back up. But they're going to need some time to do that. So they have indicated that they're still willing to sell the property to the Park District, but they would like to have a 3-year lease back to allow them to live on in the house and to have the shop building just for storage while they work on their developing out, rebuilding their property in Santa Cruz. So they're eager to close escrow and to be able to use these funds towards their project. And under the terms of the modified agreement, the same timeline would apply. So that would mean the Park District would have until December 17th to exercise the purchase option. That would have staff coming back to the board at its regular meeting on December 15th. And right now, staff is finishing up its acquisition evaluation to take a close look at the property and be able to return to the board with a more detailed accounting of the potential for this property. Close of escrow would be still to occur by the end of this year. And with that, I'll open up to questions from the board.
Thank you very much, Michael. Beautiful piece of property. Do we have any questions, board members? Yes, Director Waspy.
Thank you. Yeah, Michael, great purchase, and this is great opportunity, and I think it's going to be a beautiful piece of property. or it is, and it'll be a great acquisition. But my one question is, you mentioned a 3-year lease back of the house and the shop building. How much is that going to amount to?
Yeah, we had an appraiser do an appraisal to determine what the fair market rental would be for the house, and that is set at $3,250 a month. And the Greenies are fine with paying market rental for the house.
And the shop building, was there any value to leave?
That was very difficult to assess a rental value for it. So we're just including that with the rental rate for the house. And it doesn't include storing anything outside of the building. It would just be to use the interior of the building for storage.
All right, thank you.
Director Rosario, and then Director Lane.
Yeah, this is a great acquisition. I just had just a question about the bridge. Do you know what is that bridge rated?
That's Director Rosario, great question. I'm sure that the Greenies would have the answer to that, and that's something that will be one of the points that we'll check off when we're doing our acquisition evaluation. The staff is doing that evaluation of the property.
Yeah. It would be good to find out if we can move heavy equipment or fire equipment over that bridge. I would assume so.
There are currently a large RV is parked at the property so the Butler building is on the other side of that bridge, and they have had pieces of equipment, large pieces of equipment, and that RV is parked there currently.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh yes, pardon me, Director Lane, and then Director Coffey.
Yeah, I just well, I have a question about exactly where the money is coming from. I must have seen it here and I didn't see it. But I also want to say that you can see from the map a weird boundary Las Trampas has had with this property being slashed through the end with, I guess, Mueller properties on both sides. And so this is going to be just really a wonderful acquisition for us to fill out that part of the Las Trampas park. I don't think you took pictures from the top showing that you can see the bay, I think, from if you go all the way up to the top. So this is going to be a really beautiful addition for visitors coming to the park. Thank you for working on this, Mike.
Absolutely. And Director Lane, in response to your question on funding, so I should clarify that today's action, staff is not seeking any additional appropriation. This is just to modify the terms of the agreement. But going forward, if we come back to you on December 15th, looking at available funding sources, currently there remains in Measure WW funding for the Las Trampas allocation area, 1.6 million. So this acquisition would potentially draw down remaining funds within the Las Trampas allocation for WW funding. So we could then supplement that with there's a couple different sources, and the general manager may wish to speak to that, but we have there is about $3 million balance in Measure WW earned interest account. And that can be used pretty generally across the Park District service area. So we haven't tapped that yet because we, of course, want to draw down each allocation area and then look for other sources. So that's one source still within WW funding. Then we also have what we call the DCLA account, and that's a general fund funded account that's committed to funding land acquisitions. And that's what can be tapped in lieu of any other available funding. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Director Coffey had a question, but the general manager has his hand up. Go ahead, general manager.
President Corbett, if Colin could go first, I may have I'll wait until the end.
Okay, Director Coffey.
So, Michael, will the 3-year lease back to the property owners delay our ability to open up that gap along the ridge with the Ridgeview Trail?
Director Coffey, not at all. The lease back allows them to reside in the house, to use the building for storage, but the entire property is at the Park District's disposal to design, plan, and develop and open as appropriate for trail access and access up from Bollinger Canyon Road ultimately.
No, that's terrific. Thank you.
And along those same lines, so there's no access issues or privacy concerns by the Guarini family. We have full and open access. That's all been worked out.
President Corbett, that's correct. Yeah, this would be similar to other leaseback arrangements that we have done in the past, and we have a few of those still in place where the sellers for each individual reason wish to stay back on the property, and that they have obviously they have quiet use and enjoyment of their home, but the balance of the property is we have full possession, or we'll have full possessory rights and use of the balance of the property.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jim.
Thank you very much. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, when do you buy property? And my answer always is when we can, whenever we can. We had, I think as Director Lane mentioned, the adjacent property, the original park was owned by the Mueller family. And the piece that's in between, that's next to the south of this property was actually Ron Mueller's parents. Ron was a longtime Garin Park manager in the district, and they needed to go to senior care, and they were left with a debt to do that, and they decided to sell the property and put it on the market. And Ron came to me and said, I know this doesn't connect, but we need to sell now, so we wanted to offer it to the Park District first. And so a lot of questions came up at that time, as this is now an ice.
Mr. Wairigi and Kelly?
Yes, and Kelly Abreu.
Kelly Abreu, Mr. Abreu. If you could let them in, please.
I'm going to start with Kelly. Kelly, if you could unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Hi, the Chouinard is a French name, and so it continues a French tradition. The Livermore Valley was actually had a lot of the early winemakers after the Spanish were French, from France, and Chouinard. They now are expanding the, as Director Wieskamp well knows, having received a lecture straight from Mr. Wente a couple of days ago. The Livermore Valley Mount Diablo appellation is expanding, and it's going to include this area too. So that's nice. And there's 3 elixirs of life where in my tradition, our tradition, port wine, which they actually make here, I heard, altar wine, and mother's milk. These are great things. This is on Palomares Road, and it is a key acquisition, absolutely key. And this is being billed today as connecting this Palomares Road to Garin and to that Stonebrae Golf Course. However, if you look back at the strategic plan for this acquisition from 7 or 10 years ago in your own documents, you see that the real plan, the real strategy is much bigger and much grander. It goes from Hayward to Pleasanton and through Pleasanton Ridge. The reason for that is because if you try to walk from Fremont or Union City to Sunol along that road called Niles Canyon Road, it's illegal. It's illegal to walk. So this is a nice exercise to go walking up and down the mountains. And this property is going to be the linchpin that gets you to the road on the west side. The connector is a half mile south. There is no connection, but it looks like on Google Maps like you can make a connection if you walk a half mile south of the property and keep going eastward, or if you walk 3 miles northward along the road, you'll come to something called Cook Trail, and that is a key connector to the east. It's already existing and already there. So this thing needs to be opened up. It can't be land banked for another, 20, 30 years. We need to get these trails open so people can walk around and legally, and not be in the Niles Canyon Road, which would be an illegal way to if you were to try to go there. I believe it's legal for bicycles, but it's certainly illegal for pedestrians. So once again, thank you to the Chouinard family. And there's a little bit of conflict back and forth between whether or not they're going to keep operating, keep making wine or not. I hope they do. More port wine, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abreu. I would also add there are Irish winemakers in the Livermore Valley too. Just
Yes,
want to point that out.
German too.
Thank you. And German, yes.
And
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Wairigi, I believe, is next.
Thank you. President Corbett.
Minutes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Wairigi, welcome.
Thank you. President Corbett, Mr. Rosario, and Elizabeth Eccles. Congratulations on your elections. It's nice to have stability at the top, and this is a good thing given the tumultuous times that we live in right now. So having strong people in leadership roles within the Park District is a good thing. This acquisition is amazing to me. I toured this property with one of the board directors last October, I believe, with Sherman Lewis and Glenn Kirby, looking for the easement between Garin and we were actually walking the property trying to identify where the trails would go. And it was an eventful day. We were thrashing about in Poison Oak and across barbed wire lines and up steep hillsides, and conveniently I ended the day sitting with the board director in a chair at the winery and completely relaxing and enjoying a beautiful afternoon. So I think this is going to be an amazing acquisition. It's going to be significant in tying the two parks together. And as Kelly pointed out, these easements and the connectivity between parks is really important long-term. Bay Ridge Trail, Bay Trail, Greenway Trail, north to south. These are all north to south, but this is an east-west trail. So we need more of these, and this one is really key. So I'm really thankful that the Park District saw to it to put the money aside, and I congratulate you all the board directors and the staff for making this acquisition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wairigi. It is a wonderful acquisition in so many ways and a lovely legacy for the Chouinard family. Board members, let's have a presentation on this item. Hello, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, President Corbett. Members of the board, again, Mike Reeves, Chief of Land Acquisition, and I will share my screen for this next item.
Pretty person.
Can everybody, is the image on the entire screen?
Fine.
Yes.
Good. Where we need to be. I have to say, I want to thank the two public commenters for stealing a good part of the thunder of this presentation, but very important background, and there is a lot of history out here, starting with the Cook family that originally ranched these lands, and the Chouinard property, the winery property, is the location of part of that, the legacy ranching operation from those days. So this is the entrance off of Palomares Road. The property is 10 acres in size. This is a regional perspective of where it sits directly between Garin Regional Park and Pleasanton Ridge Regional Park. This is Palomares Road here. I'm going to go right into some photos, and then we're going to go back to a couple of maps for some more context. This is a vantage of the winery compound. We're just a little bit up into the vineyards and looking back easterly towards the winery building, which was originally the Cook family barn. And this site is where the cattle would be brought up to the grazing lands up along Walport Ridge and surrounding ridge lines, and they'd be brought back down again out of those ridge lines, dropping through the narrow canyon that this property sits at the base of. You can see Palomares Road is right here. This photo is a few years old. This is a more recent photo, and you can see they've added solar panels to the roof of the winery. This is the front view of the winery. It has a ground floor where the storage and the bottling rooms are located. There's also a wine tasting room in the back. Upstairs is an apartment, a studio apartment that was previously the wine tasting room before the extension was added to the barn in the back. And so we'll look at that now. So this is the back of the barn of the winery, and there are a picnic area in the back there underneath the tree canopy that's been used in the past by the Chenards for special events and just for folks enjoying the wine tasting and having picnics in that area. These are some of the arbors that are located in that picnic area. There's a lot of rock work too that was all put in by hand by the Chenards to beautify the site. And these are just some of the features that can be found there. In the middle image is the original wine press that the Chenards used when they first started their operation in 1985. It's a little worse for wear, so it's just now outside on display. So I want to go back to the maps because this does provide that regional trail connection context. On the left of the screen, you have a map out of the Park District's, get the year right on this, it's the 2012 Land Use Plan Amendment for Garin and Dry Creek Regional Parks. And in that plan, it identified trail connections that could get you from Garin and Dry Creek Pioneer to other areas, including there's barely make out the arrow there, but that arrow is pointing to Palomares Road and then on to Pleasanton Ridge in green there. And that is the location of the Chenard Winery property. And that arrow denotes what's in the Park District's master plan identified as the Garin to Pleasanton Ridge regional trail. So this provides that opportunity for that link. Back in 2013, shortly after the Land Use Plan Amendment was adopted for Garin and Dry Creek, the Park District acquired a trail easement from the Chenards across this winery property. And the image on the right, or the map on the right, is a map from that 2013 action. And this shows the proposed extension of the Bay Area Ridge Trail through this part of Garin Regional Park. This is all land banked currently. And then hard to make out on this map, but there's a series of ranch roads that run through this property. And several of those have been designated, these show up as kind of gray. Several of these have been designated as future recreational trails that will stem off of the Bay Area Ridge Trail. including this one here, which will be known as Stony Brook Trail. Palomares Road runs at the base of, this is Stony Brook Canyon here. The thing that's hard for a two-dimensional image to convey is the elevation differences involved here. So here on the Ridge Trail alignment, you're running along the top of Walpert Ridge. And to get down to Palomares Road into Stony Brook Canyon, several hundred feet of elevation changed there to accomplish that. And really for along almost the entire length of Palomares Road from 580, Interstate 580, down to Niles Canyon and to 84, there's no location where you can make that change, make that drop in elevation from running along the ridge line there down to Palomares Road. This property, the Chenard Winery property, is located at the base of a narrow canyon that provides just that opportunity. So topographically, this is the spot for that opportunity. So now we're back onto the property. We're looking at the road that travels west into the vineyards, and there's a couple acres of vineyards. Most of the wines that are produced at the site are purchased from elsewhere, but there are a couple acres of vines there, and this road takes you up through those vines. And this would really be what would be the future trailhead to get you up into Garin through that canyon and up into the network of future recreational trails, including Bay Area Ridge Trail. These two photos, we've now left the property. So we were traveling west up the old ranch roads that served the Cook family cattle operation. And we're on parkland here, but this is to show you that these roads do exist that connect you from the winery property, from Palomares Road, and all the way up to Walpert Ridge. The image on the right includes a cistern, or a cattle trough that dates from 1947. And then an image here of what you see once you gain that elevation and you make it up to Walpert Ridge. And this is a pretty short walk. I'm not exactly sure of the distance, but it could make a great short loop trail, albeit a challenging one. But just such a dramatic difference from the heavily wooded trails at the bottom through that canyon, and then getting up to the open pasture and to this view shed. So all good things must pass, and sadly, George Chenard, the patriarch of the family, passed away this last year. The winery operation has always been a family operation. And so left behind is his wife, Caroline, and son, Damien. And it's just proving too much for them to continue on. So again, after being in operation since 1985, they've decided they need to fold up the operation. And they reached out to the Park District first because they knew that their father, that their husband really would like to have this be a legacy, this land. And back in 2013, when we were dealing with the family to negotiate the acquisition of the trail easement, they were very excited about the prospect of inviting the public affording the public the opportunity of a trail that would take them up through that beautiful canyon and get them up to Walpert Ridge and to those views, and to invite them in for a wine taste or a lemonade if not of legal age. So it's been a relationship that we've developed, and they are very invested in seeing this work. The proposed terms for this purchase and sale. The purchase price is $890,000 for the 10 acres, including the winery compound. That seemed like a low number, but the existing restrictions on residential development on the site kind of is an explanation for why the property is not appraised for a much higher value. The Chenards would like to continue to have use of the winery building to conduct retail sales of their wines, so that they're sitting on a fairly large inventory of wine, and they would prefer not to have to dump it on the wholesale market. So what the staff has negotiated with the family is a 3-year leaseback and also a caretaker arrangement. So it serves the Chenards by allowing them to use the site for retail sales. Currently, that is strictly over their website, word of mouth, and it's pre-ordered, and you have people come in, they open up the gate, they put the wine in the trunk, and that's that. Eventually, there may be the opportunity to open it up to in-person wine tasting opportunities, but that'll just depend on the progress of the pandemic, and we'll make provisions for that opportunity in the leaseback. How it benefits the Park District is that the son and mother live immediately next door to this property. They have their residence there, and so they are 24/7, basically eyes and ears, and can provide that security presence on the property. They will also continue to maintain the property and take care of the general upkeep, and that's written into the draft leaseback and caretaker agreement. This acquisition is also on a pretty short fuse, in that we would have until December 17th to exercise the purchase option if the board approves entering into that option agreement today. So that would have staff coming back to the board at its regular meeting on December 15th, and with close of escrow to occur by December 31st. And I think that's the last, no, that's not. So today's action by the board would include an appropriation of $31,600. This is for initial acquisition related expenses, including an option payment, the appraisal, getting a phase 1 environmental site assessment, and staff time. Source of these funds would mostly come from the Walpert Ridge Donation Fund, and the staff report has information on the history of that fund and its utilization for exactly this type of acquisition opportunity. That fund for soft costs such as staff time, Park District will use its own funding under the terms of that Walpert Ridge Donation Fund MOA. So $3,000 appropriated from Measure WW, again for a total appropriation request today of $31,600. And that is my final slide. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much for that great report on a really beautiful piece of property. I have a feeling Director Waspy might like to say a few words.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I've got a lot of things to say. I mean, we've all talked about it. It's been mentioned a number of times. The whole east-west connection is really vital, and we all know that, but I have to reiterate, it's amazing that we're going to be able to do that. And it's based on a few visionary people who really worked on this for years and years and years, as all projects in the Park District. I have to give some credit to Sherman Lewis of HAPA, the Hayward Area Planning Agency, and Glenn Kirby of the Sierra Club, who were local activists down in the South Bay and Hayward area who fought the 1,600 acres of Stonebray. And they were the ones, along with, I'm sure, Robert and Regional Park District staff, who kind of got the developers to donate to this Walpert Ridge donation fund, the 1.5 million that we'll be using. And so it's been that money's been sitting, waiting for people like the Chouinards who were good people and knew that in the end they would always probably sell it to the Park District. And now, unfortunately, based on those circumstances, they're doing it a little earlier than they suspected. But it's a great benefit to the Park District. I think, this will be a great acquisition for all kinds of reasons. It's beautiful. I'm very happy that the Chouinards will stay there for 3 years. I'll help them work on their inventory. And I think this has lots of potential for things we haven't really done in the Park District. I mean, I can imagine hiking that loop trail that you referred to, Michael, and having a nice glass of wine right there in that spot, because it is very, very beautiful and a great asset for the Park District. So thanks for all your hard work, and I'll personally thank the Chouinards.
Thank you, Director Wasby. Any other questions on this property or comments?
President Corbett, for some reason I can't get my video on.
Okay, but would you like to make a comment?
I would like to make a comment, and I think it is wonderful to think of the people who've waited so long to see this happen. And I'm thinking of Sherman Lewis, because it took a lot of vision to even imagining getting through that torch. Well, Dennis would agree with me, to get through there. It just seemed insurmountable. And I have to agree with our earlier speakers. We saw a great presentation on the state of the industry, the wine industry in the Valley, and some concerns at LAVCO. And it was quite good. And it's a good reminder that it's that industry so much blends in with what we do at the East Bay Park District. A lot of beautiful space. Yes, it's commercial, but so what? It's just beautiful, just like this, just different. So I think this is a great opportunity. And I'd like to think about this as a place where the concern of the earlier was about what can we do to help young people get trained. Well, there's some people who probably would like to be trained in the wine industry. And this might be a location where that sort of thing could happen. And I know that Ellen, President Corbett, has a relationship with another vintner, a relative over in the Valley. But it's a great opportunity. I can't tell you, I don't remember a time when we've had two such wonderful, unusual properties coming into the fold on the same day. So Bob's right. Look for the opportunity and do it.
Thank you, Director Wieskamp. And maybe there's some options to bring in our local community colleges who have
yes,
classes in winemaking. So who knows, maybe something in the future. Thank you. Mr. General Manager. Oops, you're muted.
Thank you, President Corbett. I wanted to acknowledge somebody who 20 years ago came to me in the land department and said, I've been talking to a winemaker in Palomares Canyon. It was Mr. Chouinard, and that was Dan Reeser. Dan Reeser was the supervisor of Sunol and Pleasanton Ridge and probably Mission Peak at the same time. And he kept reminding me that they have really expressed an interest in preserving their property long term. And that was 20 years ago. So I want to acknowledge Dan for having a relationship with them. He actually would talk to them when he'd see them on the road when he was patrolling Pleasanton Ridge. And as everyone noticed and really need to notice on that map, there is a large swath of green across the street, just like we had in the acquisition before. The adjacent property across the street was our Owen acquisition. And that property shows in our master plan for the land use plan for Pleasanton Ridge. That shows a staging area on our master plan right near there. So I think this is just perfect. And we did do that and clear that in the in the land use plan process to have a staging area near there, literally on the other side of the Palomares Road. So this really is wonderful. And I too want to acknowledge the long commitment of Sherman Lewis and his friends. We would not have a large portion of Walpert Ridge preserved had it not been for their ongoing litigation over development and their tenacity. And I know we have used this fund before. Sherman is always calling me and saying, when are you going to spend more of that money? And it's the same answer, it's whenever we can. And this is a great example for that. I also really want to encourage the board to consider this is a site for our foundation. The foundation has had many events with beer making and wine tasting. And I think this is something to really think about as a Park District Foundation donor event. This is just the perfect kind of site to bring people to on a small gathering to talk about parks and trails and to enjoy themselves. So again, my compliments to the Chief of Land Acquisition. Very proud of him. So professional and really hanging in there with these relationships. So frequently you hear about adversarial relationship between conservation and land acquisition and development. And these are today wonderful examples of very positive, just nudging it along relationships with private property owners. And that needs to be acknowledged because the majority of our relationships with acquisitions are very positive with willing sellers and property owners who really care about their property. So this is a very wonderful, going to be a wonderful next board meeting or the end of the year. Thank you.
Our holiday presents. Director Coffey, did you have your hand up? Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. I am also very much looking forward to the board field trip. At some point when we're able to do that again. I wanted to congratulate Mike and all the lands folks. This is another fantastic purchase. Like the general manager said, one I'm particularly proud of, these two today. And all I wanted to add is I'm very much looking forward to see what our very creative park planners and interpretive professionals come up with for these 10 acres and the facilities that are there and what role they will have in the East Bay Regional Park District. That will be a fascinating process to follow and watch our people at work.
Director Coffey, and if I could, board members, I would be remiss if I didn't pass along a word of caution by park staff who've had a chance to look at the property. And we've had a few folks out there. Vines take a lot of work. I'll just leave it at that. But so that'll really have to go into figuring what we're able to do with the site in terms of maintaining even just the acre or so that's there.
That's why I was being very general. I kind of understand that, but you know, there are obviously some very interesting and creative interpretive uses that can go with this property.
And Director Coffey, if I may, you also know a ex-chief legal counsel for the East Bay Regional Park District that lives in your ward, who is himself and his family quite winemakers themselves. So maybe we could get some volunteer work that way.
I got a couple of his bottles right over here.
There you go.
And I know how to prune, so
there she does. She can train it.
I know a lot has been said, but I would like to add just a few things. Long before I came to the Park District Board, I wore a different hat, and I had the opportunity to interact with the Chenard family. Obviously, it's a beautiful piece of property, but I just want to speak about a lovely family who's always been deeply involved in the community and quite generous. And this is just such a nice legacy for their family and remembering the wonderful work of George and the rest of the family. And it's going to be a beautiful acquisition for that reason as well. So thank you to everybody who's involved with that. And I do want to say that in my other capacity, I've spent hours and hours of time on the phone with various constituents, including Sherman Lewis, discussing such issues, including Walpert Ridge. So I know how much this trail connection means to him, and it's nice to be able to complete this in recognition of his many years of advocacy for open space in the Bay Area as well, especially in the Hayward Ridge area. So thank you to Sherman as well. And I know, Dennis, you will probably want to make this motion, but I would love to make the second, if that's okay with everybody. So if there's no other comments or questions, a motion's in order.
I would move that we authorize staff to purchase the Chenard Winery.
Thank you very much. And I would like to second it with your indulgence. Thank you very much. So we
just
have
a clarification, apologies, that this today's action is to enter into the option purchase and sale agreement, and then staff will be back to the board. We anticipate on December 15th for that authorization to pull the trigger on the purchase.
That's right. It's the motion to enter into the option purchase and sale agreement as per the resolution in our package. So with a motion and second, please call the roll on the item.
Yes, Madam President. Director Lane?
Aye.
Director Wieskamp?
Aye.
Director Eccles?
Aye.
Director Coffey?
Aye.
Director Waspy?
Aye.
Director Rosario?
Aye.
And Madam President Corbett?
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Thank you very much. Unanimous pass to enter into the option agreement. All right. We have one more item under ASD, and that is an authorization to amend a contract with Anchor CM for construction management services for the development of the Dumbarton Quarry Campground. And this is at our Coyote Hills Regional Park. And I would like to introduce our AGM, Jim O'Connor, who will also introduce Glenn Gilchrist, our design manager on this item. Please, Jim, welcome.
Welcome. Good afternoon, President Corbett, members of the board. Jim O'Connor, your Assistant General Manager of Operations. And AGM Kelcher has graciously allowed me to introduce the item since of my long-term involvement in this project. I think all of you know that this project's gone on, I believe, over 30 years it's taken to
Let's ask Director Wieskamp. How long has it been, Director Wieskamp?
It started long before I came on the board. I think 30 sounds about right.
Pardon me.
Well,
a lifetime.
I'm here to tell you that it is actually a reality. I had an opportunity to get out to visit the site about 2 months ago with park staff. And it's really happening. And I just wanted to say a couple of words about it before I hand it off to Glenn Gilchrist. The first thing is, I think all of you remember that this project, the intention here was to get a turnkey park, essentially a brand new park for the park district. The construction pathway, as ASD staff will often say, did not follow the normal pathway that we have for construction projects. And a lot of this construction was being changed and designed as the project actually moved forward. And a lot of what's happening out there is really giving credit to the ASD staff, specifically Kim Collins and her work in the preliminary design, and now Glenn Gilchrist, who's overseeing Anchor CM, which is the contract you're looking at today. And one of the things that I'm really impressed when I got out for my site visit is the quality of the work that I'm seeing out there in terms of how this park will perform in terms of maintenance in the future. I think really some really high quality work is being done. I'm sure that Glenn and the Anchor CM staff will tell you how hard it's been to get to that point. But I'm very impressed, and it's amazing how much dirt has been moved on site for the future hill, which is going to be part of the park, which we have discussed in the past. So with that, I just wanted to say things are happening, Director Wieskamp, and hopefully we'll be able to get a chance to get you out there soon to take a look at it. And I'm hoping that next spring, operations staff can take the handoff and we can open a brand new park for the district. So it's very exciting. So I just wanted to say a couple of words, and I'll pass off to Glenn at this point.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Glenn. If you're here, Glenn, we don't hear you.
We
Are
see
you here?
you.
Oh, there he is.
Go.
Okay. Good afternoon, President Corbett, members of the board. I'm Glenn Gilchrist, Design Manager at the Park District, and I'm here to present on 2 recommended board actions and also provide an update on the Dumbarton Quarry Campground project. So the recommendations are for a $200,000 amendment to the consultant contract with Anchor CM for construction management services, and for the transfer and appropriation of $200,000 into the project. The campground is being constructed at the former Dumbarton Quarry site next to the Dumbarton Bridge Toll Plaza in Fremont. Only a few years ago, the bottom of this hole was the lowest point in California. And today there's little evidence that the hole even ever existed. The campground, which is phase 1 shown here, will consist of 64 full hookup RV camping sites, day use areas, an amphitheater, and restroom, shower, store, and entry kiosk buildings. The total value of the campground improvements is anticipated to exceed $15 million. A reminder that the service yard down here is actually not part of this project, but we expect that will go out to contractors for bidding this winter. So the continuing construction management services provided by Anchor CM include full-time inspection and field engineering assistance, cost validation and estimating for betterments, and development of project records. The inspectors' continuous presence and daily reports have been instrumental in preventing and correcting problems in this, really fast-moving, complex project. The goal has been, and they've been fairly successful at it, is identifying issues in the field early before they become major problems. So this addendum and request for additional money is consistent with the original proposal prepared by Anchor CM. It's not a change order for unexpected costs, and it is necessary to continue their services throughout project completion. So construction progress to date includes most of the grading, the underground utilities, building structures, AC and concrete paving. So this aerial photo provides a really good view of how big this project truly is and how much construction has happened. We can see out here we have the Dumbarton Bridge Toll Plaza. Over here, we're going to have our new amphitheater. We have a camp store. We have all of this area here, RV camping sites, day use areas. I mean, it's really an enormous project site. This is a typical RV site under construction. These white pipes sticking up here are for irrigation, which is, generally the last underground utility to be installed. All the electrical and water has been installed below these. This rectangular pad will contain a fire ring and a picnic table. It will all be surrounded with stabilized decomposed granite. What you can't clearly see in this project, but there also will be hookups for sewer, water, and electrical. So this site here shows the kiosk in the background, one of the restroom buildings, and then just to the left of the restroom building, this little excavated area, will be the playground. That little hole there is going to be filled with fibar. It's a type of bark that you can walk on without sinking into the bottom. In this slide, we can see the camp store on the left, one of the restroom buildings on the right. There's still work to do on the interior of the buildings, but as you can see here, the exterior is essentially complete. Okay, we expect this amphitheater to be really popular. The shed on the far left here will house the audio-video equipment and also some supplies for the interpretive staff when they're giving presentations. Don't be alarmed, the seating's white because it's been primed, but it still has to be painted. They won't be white when we're done. And the fire pit here will have a nice stone veneer. So what remains? Well, the work remaining includes completing the building interiors, finish grading, site lighting, site burnishing, and most importantly, lots of landscaping. Our project manager, Kim Collins, shown here, is currently working with folks in our stewardship department, the landscape contractor, and nurseries to obtain healthy, appropriate trees, hundreds of trees. The brown posts you see here are bollard lighting to illuminate the concrete path for night performances at the amphitheater. So, the general manager recommends that the board of directors authorize an amendment to the contract in the amount of $200,000 with Anchor CM of Lafayette, California, for construction management services for the developed Dumbarton Quarry Campground project at Coyote Hills Regional Park, and authorize the transfer and appropriation of $200,000 from the Coyote Hills Dumbarton Quarry Special Revenue Fund into the developed Dumbarton Quarry Campground project. Thank you very much, and I'll turn this over to Jim or any questions.
Thank you very much, Glenn. And thank you, Jim. Board members, any questions? Dr. Wieskamp, would you like to weigh in?
Well, earlier I had a nice presentation from Lisa Gorgon. This was good to see. Again, it sort of reinforces. It's just so amazing to see it finally happening. And I look forward to seeing the landscaping plan. I'm sure it's going to be special and it will be designed so it fits well in this climate. Since I know who's in charge of it, and I know how long has she been involved in this project? Maybe longer than I have, Kim. But I'm glad to support it. I have fingers, toes, and everything else crossed that we're going to do it and open it next year.
So I'll just say that Kim is celebrating her 25 years at the district this year.
Okay, so she
she knows a lot about it.
Than I. But it's going to be so popular. You don't know how many people are looking forward to this. Yes. Groups that come to town when we have sporting events again, they love, a lot of them like to bring their RVs. The mayor of Newark, because he has a company over there that rents RVs, and as they came from Europe, they have to spend 24 hours nearby. So automatically this will be a close.
Well, I water my plants when I come in.
You water automatic people coming in. So it's a boon, and I'm pleased we're going to get there, and I have faith next year.
Oh yeah.
Okay, board members, any other questions, comments? Thank you very much, Director Wieskamp. We're all hoping, we're all going open, 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 just like you. Director Rosario?
Oh, yes, thank you. This is going to be, can't wait for it to open. Just curious about timing. You said that the service yard was going to be a separate contract. Will the service yard be completed by the time the campground is open?
No.
Okay, so the crew's going to have to be working from Coyote Hill.
Yes, they've been working on that plan, yes.
Okay.
Would have been nice, right, Dee?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it would have been difficult to have the two contractors working in the same space as well. So they're
Yeah.
kind of and the site plans weren't developed. They were following a different track. The service yard was really behind the park the whole way. So.
Director Lane.
So I know there are plans for a hill next to the property, and it's gradually coming to life. How long do you think it will take to have that hill be constructed?
So we don't know, but I wouldn't say it's gradually coming to life. It's actually happening pretty quick. It's surprising. We don't know, if it'll continue at that rate. It all depends on how much development takes place in the Bay Area. But it could be 10 years. It looks like Lisa wants to say something.
Do we have a photo of it?
Yeah, Glenn, this is Lisa. Good afternoon, President,
Hello,
Corporate
Lisa.
Directors. Glenn, I think if the very first photo on your presentation shows the hill.
Yeah.
So
So
do you see
this-
that? That's the hill. And Glenn, you want to go to the right and you can show how high it will be. Yeah.
You see where my cursor is there? Right
Yeah.
about the middle of that hill. That's where the hill is going to come up. This right here. This wasn't here recently. This was flat.
That's
But this
where
right
the
here
hole was.
is becoming this all the way to here.
It's a plateau at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know I'm not alone in wanting to go and take a look at it. And so are there any suggestions on how we could do that? And not get in people's way, but just see
Eagle 8.
See it actually, in the field.
Jim wants to say something.
Jim, please go ahead.
Director Lane, I just knew that was you were going to ask that question. I would suggest that while we're in the middle of a fairly significant surge in the COVID-19 cases, we probably shouldn't do that right now. But I would say that maybe after the holidays, when we see things are going, maybe we can set up a socially distanced site visit. We'll have to take a look at that and see how the numbers are after the holidays. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that would like to go out and have you and Glenn and Kim just really give us a little introduction to it. And it's very interesting to see it at this point. And then, of course, when it's going to be done, of course, this spring.
It was really significant to drive out there when I went out there, and the hill's even higher now because that was a couple of months ago. But to sit up on that hill and look down on the campground, I just couldn't believe it was happening that fast. So your question about how long that may take, Glenn is correct. It all depends on how well the economy is doing in the Bay Area and how much construction continues. But they've made much more progress than we originally expected at this point.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
It's a plateau and it's up there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do we have any drone footage?
I don't know if we have any recent drone footage.
No.
We have some from a few months ago, but not recent.
Okay. Any more questions, comments? Let's see. I don't see anybody at the moment. Please speak up if you do. If not, we have a motion in order to authorize and amend the contract with Anchor CM. Director Wieskamp, would you like to make that motion?
I would love to make this motion. Move forward, please.
And who would like to second it? Director Waspy, thank you so very much. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on that motion?
Yes, Madam President. Director Lane?
Yes.
Director Eccles?
Aye.
Director Coffey?
Aye.
Director Wieskamp?
Yes.
Director Waspy?
Aye.
Director Rosario?
Aye.
And Madam President Corbett?
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
That's unanimous.
Approved. Yes.
Board members, it is 4:23, and I'm going to call a quick 10-minute break, and then we will come right back and finish the rest of the agenda. Does that sound good?
Great.
Okay, 4:23, 4:33. I'll see you back here. Thank you.
Colin. Okay.
Bye, Colin.
Great idea.
Everyone put themselves on mute, please, and stop your video.
And I do know, Madam Clerk, you have advised me we have 2 individuals who would like to speak during public comments on this item.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we take their comments first?
We could.
Okay.
We'll start with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. You can announce the.
They will be Francis Mendoza and Ari Suzuki. Francis, I know you're here. There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
And you have 3 minutes.
And welcome.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, Madam President, and esteemed directors. My name is Francis Mendoza, and I go by he, they, sila pronouns. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Chochenyo Ohlone land. As many of you know, I am a naturalist at Coyote Hills Regional Park, and have been at the Tidewater Boating Center, Crab Cove, and the Hayward Shoreline Interpretive Center in the past 15 years. In fact, I started out with the Park District in 1994 as an interpretive student aide at Artwood, and have enjoyed my career with the district immensely. That said, I was recently placed in the second hiring pool for the Supervising Naturalist 1 position, effectively being denied a promotion for the 3rd time in the past 5 years. I believe this speaks to unfair hiring practices, very little attention to retention, and a severe lack of upward mobility, evidenced by the fact that there are no BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as supervising naturalists, and the only ones promoted from within have all been white. On June 16, the board passed a resolution denouncing racism and standing in solidarity with all BIPOC. It was stated that the district would, quote, ensure our workforce reflects the communities we serve at all levels of the organization and will recruit, hire, and retain competitive talent from park industry professionals of color. And the resolution directed the district to, quote, identify, acknowledge, and address racism, implicit bias, and the systems and policies that prevent Black employees and other people of color from realizing their full potential, end quote. As a member of AFSCME Local 2428's Workforce Diversity Committee, I know this is not an isolated occurrence and underscores the pervasive systemic racism that the board resolved to address. In 2014, I was honored to be featured in Bay Nature as one of the people who will run the parks of the Bay Area's future. More than 6 years later, it is apparent that this is not the case. I myself wrote an article for Bay Nature on how my experience as an Asian American informed my work in the community, yet the district chose not to sponsor it, despite being one of the most read online articles in Bay Nature's history. During yesterday's Workforce Diversity Committee meeting, it was brought up in the EEO report that Asian and Latinx males left the park district last fiscal year at twice the rate as other ethnic groups. This substantiates my claim that my experience is not an isolated one. Because of low staff morale, lack of upward mobility, and unfair hiring and interview processes, I am contemplating leaving the park district for other opportunities. Currently, I am the director of the National Association for Interpretation's JEDI section, which stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, Accessibility, and Inclusion. And I look forward to advancing the mission to dismantle systems of oppression and systemic racism in all of our parks, historic sites, and visitor centers. I'm encouraged by the strides the district is making, from instilling preferred pronouns in our email signatures to requiring all staff and board members to take implicit bias training. But as you can see in my case and in many others, there is still much more work to be done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Francis, for joining us. We very much appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ari Suzuki.
Welcome, Ari.
I don't see her yet.
Thank you.
Oh,
Am I up?
oh, there you go.
I
Okay.
hear you.
She's
There you
there.
are. There you are. Welcome.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Director Corbett, members of the board, GM Doyle, and AGM Alvarez. My name is Ari Glenn Suzuki. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm the co-chair of Local 2428's Diversity Committee. I'm happy to see that the board is making this report public and speaking about the lack of diversity here. I'm happy because we could not start to work on solutions until we agree what the problems are. And I'm taking to heart what DGM Alvarez said yesterday, that we need to have candid, brave, and respectful conversations. So in that spirit, I'm highlighting 3 points. First, we need to count the numbers correctly and count the correct numbers. We need diversity statistics, not just by division, but for management levels in those buckets, to see how we are doing in representation in positions that make the hiring decisions. Second, we need to keep in mind what those numbers mean. For example, the report shows that women of color are the biggest source of diversity in the district. I'm being counted as one person under the gender diversity column and one person under the racial diversity column. Third, and most importantly, I want to highlight why representation matters. Before I became a full-time employee here, I created and ran a leadership training program for middle and high school age girls from East Oakland based on building outdoor skills while hiking and backpacking. None of the girls had gone backpacking when they started. It took training and practice in planning, route finding, decision-making, leadership styles, and risk management for the girls to be able to complete a successful backpacking trip. While the focus was for them to gain self-confidence by understanding their own strength and dealing with challenges, I also wanted them to know in their hearts that the outdoors was their space, that they belong, and that they can have fun and feel safe in the parks. We went to many parks and met many people. They were impressed when they met women rangers. But their most memorable meeting was when we ran into Director Rosario, who is then park supervisor at Redwood. Of course, it helps that he's a very friendly, genuine person. But they were most excited that it was somebody that reminded them of an uncle, reminded them of home. While they were in a park that felt very different from their neighborhood. After hiking the entire length of this strange trail with heavy backpacks on, they told me that they were really impressed that somebody who looked like them was the supervisor of this large park. This is how real, authentic diversity matters in the real world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ari. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. All right, DGM Alvarez, can you please proceed?
Yes, thank you, Board President Corbett, and good afternoon, board members, esteemed colleagues, and members of the public. Deputy General Manager, Dr. Ana Alvarez, at your service. I appreciated the comments from the public, and I do want to speak to it as part of my introductory remarks. The item before you today provides us with an opportunity to gain a shared understanding of the Park District's current workforce demographics, as well as a shared understanding of what has transpired in the reporting period pertaining to new hires, promotions, and also the people who have left the agency. As a public agency, we do have a duty to ensure that the Park District's workforce reflects the communities it serves to benefit from the richness found in the diversity of race, in the diversity of culture, gender, as well as the diversity of thought derived from the people who deliver the mission of the Park District every day. I often say that the success of the Park District does not rest on the shoulders of one individual, but rather is the collective whole that make the Park District successful and that will speak to the Park District's future success. As with many other park agencies, there are ample opportunities for growth, and broadly communicate and acknowledging the findings of this report will help the Park District to move forward with its goals to further diversify its workforce and support a cultural belonging. We present this item in the interest of full transparency, and most importantly, by reaffirming our commitment to do better. As such, the report includes a brand new section on the next steps that will be led by the Department of Human Resources in the form of a diversity action plan, which was also created in response to the board's policy direction in denouncing racism and standing in solidarity with Black people and all people of color. As you have taken action in your agenda today, we will be securing a consulting firm that will be looking very closely at the practices of the Park District and the decisions that are made with perhaps at times in the best of intentions, but that have unintended consequences and impacts in the long term. The Park District is an equal employment opportunity employer. We do respect the individuality of each member of our workforce, and we are truly committed to a workplace free of any kind of discrimination based on race, color, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, national or ethnic origin, amongst other bases protected by the law. Your actions today in your consent calendar, as well as the fact that we're sharing this report with you in a public meeting, speaks to the commitment that we want to do better as an employer and that we're willing to look very closely at those decisions that we're making, as well as the practices in which we have engaged. At this time, I would like to ask Interim Chief Human Resources Officer Allison Picard and Catherine Dundee, Management Analyst in the General Manager's Office, to continue with the presentation, and I will be available to you to answer any questions that you may have and to continue the conversation. So with that, Catherine, do you mind putting up the presentation?
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
And welcome Interim HR Chief and Catherine Dudney also for your support on this item. Thank you.
Allison, are you there?
Allison, we cannot hear you even though it shows you're not muted. Still can't hear you.
No.
Is she muted?
No, she's unmuted on my side. Maybe it's your maybe it's your
your
headphones. Take. Oh, you don't
it's
have them on?
Huh.
Okay, so as Allison continues to
Why don't you get off and come back in?
Sign in and sign out. You might be muted from your overall controls.
Okay, so as we allow Allison to join us, I do want to be respectful of the time. It's been a late meeting. So why don't we just go over the overview of what we're covering today, Catherine, if you can go back. We are going to be sharing with you a little bit of background as well as the findings for the 2019-2020 report. Catherine will be walking us through some visual charts that help tell the story of what we're looking at in terms of one snapshot of the Park District, as well as a trend line going back to 10 years. And then she will be going over specific next steps. Allison, can you hear us now?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, Allison, you're good.
Feel like a Verizon commercial. Okay, we're going to start on the first slide here. I was just starting to say when you couldn't hear me that I wanted to echo Dr. Alvarez's sentiments about, especially from the two speakers that were our employees, that we take those sentiments to heart. And this effort, this entire effort is around being responsive to those concerns. And it's a wonderful thing that just today, the board did take action to give us resources to deal with it. So I'm very pleased to see that happen. So just a brief introduction before I turn it over to Catherine to go over the actual data. We are required by the Federal Office of Equal Employment to submit this report annually for a specific period of time, and it's a fiscal year. That's what the data is going to be reflecting, and it's in categories that they mandate. We did share this, as was indicated, with the Workforce Diversity Committee, and we've shared it with the Police Association, and it'll be posted on the website because we want to make this information available to all employees. As was mentioned, the board has already had a resolution that denounces racism, and this effort will reaffirm that, as well as other district policies that you already have regarding anti-discrimination efforts. This will be something that further implements those goals. What this is intended to do is look at our recruitment processes, which include, people coming in from the outside, as well as promotions, assignments, et cetera. And the assessment that this outside consultant is going to do is going to really dig into the data and help us understand what's there, because the EEO report is not as comprehensive as we would like in terms of being able to understand our practices. And so as an overview, as is said, the demographics of the district have not changed much over 10 years. It's primarily Caucasian, about 70%, and more male. And it does not reflect the census reports for both Alameda and Contra Costa counties, which is the goal. The EEO office likes to see us reflective of our community as defined by the census. And so we are not in line with those numbers, which we'll show you in a moment. The good news is new hires and upward mobility positions have been more aligned with our community demographics than the current workforce. So that is a positive sign. But promotions do still tend to be largely Caucasian. And frankly, that's a function of the fact that the majority of the existing population of the workforce is Caucasian. So that's not a big surprise, but it's something that needs to be looked at. What's a little bit not good news in the data is that departures of females and non-whites were higher than the workforce as a whole. So again, when you're looking at the data, we look for trends over a multi-year period. 1 year alone isn't something that would be concerning, but we definitely want to dig into the data and see what the specific information is and over a period of years to understand what's happening. One thing I like to emphasize though, and when we talk about recruitment efforts, and it was mentioned earlier about the hiring managers, it's really HR's responsibility to give those managers a diverse list. Because they can only hire off the list we provide. And if that list continues to be white males, then it's not a surprise that that's who they're hiring. So the onus is really on us in our marketing, in our practices, in our screening, all those elements of recruitment, exams, et cetera, to make sure that we are removing any barriers and not have any adverse impacts to the population groups that we're trying to aspire to make sure are in our workforce. So I'm glad to see HR is taking the lead on this effort because we're kind of ground zero on making this happen for you. And I will turn it over to Catherine to go over some more numbers, and then I will talk to you about our next steps.
Thank you very much.
So in the report that you have for the meeting today, you have some overviews, but this is in a little bit more of a visual context for you. To get you oriented on this graph, this is an overview of the race ethnicity across the district. The left-hand side is the 2-county census combined for Alameda Contra Costa County. And the 8 classes across the bottom are the classifications that the EEO requires that we report on. Our management class really falls in number 1 there. And then our other classifications sort of get spread out across these other 7 categories. The total is our workforce as a whole. So what you'll see here, the bottom bar, the green bar, is our white employees. And then there's other colors as you go up. And generally speaking, the census has more diversity than across the 8 categories, as well as total for the Park District. Particularly looking at classification number 1, which is our management class, tends to be one of the least diverse. And our administrative support class, number 6, tends to be more diverse. This is the same 8 classifications with male and female breakdown. Some of the classes are fairly balanced, but you can see in our protective services class, our skilled craft, and our service and maintenance, they're more male dominated, while our administrative support class is more female dominated. Here's the intersection of those last 2 graphs. So we have the census on the left, and then we have the race ethnicity breakdown by male, female on the right. And again, you can see our employees tend to be more white than the census as a whole. Also noting of particular note, maybe the Asian from the census is particularly lacking with the Park District of the classes. Now, this is our new hire data. As Ms. Picard mentioned, there's some optimism here in that of our new hires into the agency, it was about 50-50 male-female, so 61 people total, 31 males, 30 females. It was also about 50-50 white, non-white. And so our hiring into the district is more reflective of the census data compared to our existing workforce. This is upward mobility, just to define what this means. These are people that are in seasonal or temporary positions that then get promoted or then get hired into regular permanent positions. And so what you can see here is it's a pretty small sample size. It's only 11, but again, it was close to 50-50 male-female split, as well as 50-50 white and people of color. So another thing to note that our upward mobility trend is also more diverse than our workforce as a whole. But this is where it really starts to look a little different. As Ms. Picard mentioned, the promotions that the Park District had during this period from July 19 to June 2020 were 80% white. And you can see there's no Blacks and no Asians represented in this data. Also, during that period, this is the people who are leaving the Park District. So we had 50 employees leave the district during this time. Most of those are from retirement and voluntarily quitting. We do hope to go into the data, particularly along this voluntarily quitting category, to see what the causes for that are. That's something that we'll be looking into more. But one thing to note is about half the people who left the district were female, and a little more than half the people who voluntarily quit were female. This is of note because females only make up about 36% of the total workforce. So more than 50% of the people that left were female, even though they're only 36% of the workforce as a whole. This is gender as well as race and ethnicity together. So on the left-hand side of the two bars, you'll have the 2020 turnovers represents about 25 people in both cases for male and female, compared to the females within the workforce and the males within the workforce. So what you're seeing here is that particularly in the males, we had more people of color, particularly Hispanics, leaving relative to the percentage of Hispanics represented in the workforce. So again, we need to dive into the data to really analyze what this means and why people are leaving. For females, we actually had a higher percentage of white women leaving the workforce relative to women in the workforce as a whole. This is really looking at our 10-year trend. So one thing to note is even though we have increased our diversity in hiring, really the bar has not changed over the last 10 years. And this may be a result of the people leaving the district at a higher rate. But you can see here that the percent white has stayed very constant, as has the percent Hispanic, and there's been a slight decline in Asian and Black over the last few years. On the left-hand side is where the census numbers would be. So if you kind of carry those lines out, that would be our numbers relative to the 2010 census. And this is the last graph on the trend line. Again, on the left-hand side is male-female for the census. And then you can see how this is tracked over the last 10 years. And again, a little bit of change, a little more change here, with females becoming a little bit more in the population, particularly starting around 2018. But generally speaking, there's still a gap here. So I'm gonna turn it back, but that's the big picture on the data analysis.
Thank you.
So what are we going to do with all this information? We are going to make use of the consultant that you're bringing in to help us analyze it and evaluate our practices and make sure, like I said, we remove any adverse impacts to this hiring process and promotion process. But in the short term, what we intend to do is to distribute this information to the workforce and to the hiring managers. One of the information is powerful. So we're hoping that by distributing this to the managers, and we're going to take this as a roadshow out into various departments over the next month or two, is to explain why this is an important goal of the district and the efforts that we're going to be doing to try to make some changes. We're obviously going to be starting the evaluation of our hiring practices. Catherine alluded to one tool is to do exit interviews and to talk to the folks either before they leave or after they leave to try to understand what components might have led to their moving on, and see if there's anything we couldn't change about the environment in the district to potentially keep those folks. We're going to be expanding our recruitment outreach, and that's something that these days is traditionally done largely through social media and online. But I'm a big fan of the old-fashioned word of mouth and making use of community groups. It's been my experience that, especially if we're targeting certain people of color, that we can reach out to churches and social groups and people in the community who can help us with distributing information about our jobs, even going out. I've had experience as an HR person going out and making presentations to these folks to explain the work of the district and the jobs we have, to try to encourage them, to encourage the folks they know to apply and consider us as an employer of choice. So we're going to be working on that. We've also already instituted some targeted training. You may be aware that the district has required everyone to take implicit bias training, and that's being concluded, I believe, this month and has been very well received is the feedback we're getting. But we'll be expanding on that, considering things like potentially mandatory training for anyone that's going to be a hiring manager or sitting on a panel, that they get a training just before they would sit on a panel so that all of this information is top of their mind when they're considering applicants, and that they understand the importance of making sure that evaluation techniques are administered consistently and fairly and with no bias. I think that's something we all understand conceptually, but it would be very important to have that be something very recent or current with the experience of doing these activities related to recruitment. We are also already looking at our job announcements. Like I said, we want to eliminate any barriers or anything that would look to be something that would dissuade someone from applying to the organization. And we are already using something called a pass point analysis, which is very common in many agencies. And that's where if you have a written test or an oral board test and you are drawing a line about what's passing, where do you draw that line? And if you look at the configuration of the candidates in terms of gender and race, if you can see that statistically, say lowering the pass point, from 75 to 70 might pull forward candidates that we're trying to make competitive in the process by bringing more folks of either of color or the gender that we're trying to incentivize. Those are decisions we can make locally based on best practices. And I would assume we'll have the consultant evaluate that, make sure we're doing it correctly, and potentially offer ways of expanding that. And then we are going to continue the ongoing training that we've been doing related to sexual harassment and bias training. That's going to be part of the rollout of next year's training program. And with Summit, the new system that the district has invested in, there's a plethora of courses there that we are going to be reviewing and encouraging employees to take that focus on all of these areas to try to make sure that the environment in the district is one where employees feel welcome and that they can have a career here and that they feel comfortable talking to their managers and HR certainly about ways we can improve how we're doing things so we can achieve the goals of a workforce that's diverse and representative of our community. That is the goal. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Allison. Board members, Director Lane. Oh,
you're muted.
Unmute you.
I have a couple of things. One thing has to do with the PowerPoint. It's not quite to this topic, but I was struck in getting this presentation that when people do a PowerPoint on the screen, what I see is a row of people down the right side of my screen, and that blocks the information. And maybe I'm the only one that does it, but when Catherine was showing the various bars, I didn't see 18 and 19 on some of them. And in the last one, there were 3 categories and I couldn't read the 3rd category. So I don't know if I'm the only one who every time we have a PowerPoint, I can't see anything to the extent I would like on the right. So I just wanted to put that out. Then,
Dr. Lane, I just want to say I'm very happy that you brought that up because that happens on my screen only across the bottom. So sometimes it has something to do with the centering of the presentation, but I do think it would be important for people to try to figure out how to adjust for that. I know I can make everybody's picture disappear on my iPad anyway, and so I can see the information. But at the same time, I can see how we shouldn't have a presentation where you're not able to see all the data, especially with graphs and such things. So hopefully we can work on that, but that is something that does happen with other presentations as well. I've noticed it as well.
Okay, well, it's pretty much permanent for me. And I just really hadn't mentioned that to anybody. But more to the presentation, I know it's absolutely true. When people are interviewing for jobs, they feel most comfortable with somebody that's like them. So if you're a white woman, you're more comfortable, saying, oh, well, I could work with this white woman. And so I think that interviewing is so important. And I really think that being able to find some kind of a program or a training which was not 4 hours, I found more than I wanted, but was perhaps a half an hour before somebody is doing interviewing, that would refresh them and remind them about what our goals are in terms of having our employees reflect the East Bay. I think that cogent reminder that was done well and to the point would be a great help in terms of these interviews. So thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you, Director Lane. Board members, other questions, comments?
Again, my video isn't up.
Oh, sorry, can't see, but go ahead, Director Wieskamp, please go ahead.
You know, I thought this was very interesting for me. And I would like us to sort of take another step a little earlier in that I think a lot of people don't think about applying to the Park District. They aren't aware of a lot of the different jobs. So if we can do something before we go out looking to get that word out, maybe we could talk to Carol Johnson. I don't know, but somehow or other, we need to get people who aren't even thinking about working for the Park District, that there are all kinds of opportunities, and see if we can figure a way to get them looking at it when they're younger. I don't know, but it seems to me a lot of people may not think about it. And so I think we need to try to get into their thought processes early. I think we need to be more thoughtful early is what I'm thinking. What we're talking about doing here is wonderful, obviously, but change is hard, but I think we're working at it. And I thank you very much for the presentation. And I have faith that you're going to keep going and help us do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Director Wieskamp. Director Waspy, I see your hand.
No.
Okay, sorry. Anyone else have any comments? Director Rosario?
Ellen?
Oh, yes, sorry. Director Eccles.
Yes, hi. Thanks. It's hard just being on the phone, but our internet and phone is still out at home, so I'm sitting here on the street all day. But anyway, so I wanted to first of all, thank our two staff members for speaking. I really appreciate your comments and very important points that you made. And also thank you, Dr. Alvarez and Allison Picard for the report. I think this is a really important first step, and the transparency and the information here is critical, because you can't really fix a problem until you can identify and quantify it. And so I appreciate the work that is done here. I also agree with what Ann was saying about recruitment. That is a huge part. I mean, the people are out there. You know, there's a whole range of, diverse ethnically and gender and everything else out in the community, and we do need to find those people and connect with those people and get folks into good jobs in the district. But we have to assess also at every single level, and I know that's also what you're doing with the report, because yes, the recruitment is the first step, but promotions are important, and getting people, making sure that everybody can achieve their full potential at the Park District is hugely important as well. So I thank you for the work, and clearly we have more work to do, but I think this is an important first step.
Director Rosario?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I too want to, I really want to thank Deputy General Manager Dr. Ana Alvarez and Allison Picard and her staff, and Kip Walsh before her. This is important work, and I really appreciate their being candid and being forthright in moving this forward. And I really want to appreciate AFSCME 2428's Workforce Diversity Committee for also being there. And I know when I first became a board member, I sat in and talked with a lot of our LGBTQ and folks from ASME, and what I heard there really broke my heart. And this is and this is the beginning. This is our first look at ourselves in the mirror, and this is our first steps towards getting it right. And I've in my career with the Park District, I've seen this trend going on for a very, very long time. It would be interesting to see if we could get those numbers from the past, but these numbers need to change. We need to reflect. We need to reflect the people around us in our communities, and I think in the instance of Francis Mendoza, it's like people of color, all things being equal, we just need an opportunity. And I'm a prime example. I think I can be a prime example. And so, given those same opportunities, we can excel just as well as anyone else, and we just need the opportunity. And if you don't give people the opportunity, they don't have the. There's no other opportunity but to leave. And then in the case of the story that Ari told about meeting her group meeting the park supervisor of color, I had the same. I remember that event distinctly, and I remember the opposite being that I was so overjoyed to see young women of color in the park that it just made my day. And that's it. It goes both ways. Not only myself, a person of color, seeing other people of color in the park, but the other way too. People, park users, seeing their like in a place of power and in a place of nature. So I really congratulate everyone that's involved in this project. I really implore our employees and our managers to embrace the concept. And change is hard, but we need to make it happen. So thank you all so much. I'm really looking forward to the next steps. We have a long way to go. And thanks again to Dr. Alvarez and Allison Picard and HR staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Director Rosario. It's kind of hard to follow you on those really heartfelt comments that you just made. So thank you. I also appreciate having this information available for us to take a look at. And I think Dee, you put it in a very interesting way. It gives us a chance to take a look at ourselves in the mirror. And that might be hard. But nonetheless, we have the opportunity to do that. And I would say that yesterday we had a Workforce Diversity Committee meeting, and there were a lot of comments shared, and there were a couple of things, and this report was shared at that meeting, and there were a couple of things that really struck me, maybe more than a couple of things that struck me at that meeting that I will share with you. One was, obviously these numbers are, they sort of hit you right in the face. They are, they're different than they are even different than I thought they would be. So that's one thing. It's a reminder of where we are. The other thing is, and this is a difficult thing to talk about because we have a lot of amazing employees from all backgrounds. And so it's, we're not casting any dispersions, but at the same time, those numbers are a bit shocking. The other thing is, in looking at those columns and numbers, each part of that information, those graphs, they represent real people. And And also in the committee meeting yesterday, I think the one thing that struck me more than anything is one of our employees asked, well, what happens at these meetings? If we share something with you two board members, will you share that with the rest of the board? And that was kind of, that hurt a little, because it was almost that, I really don't know how to explain it, that there are issues that if people speak up, they might not get recognition from all of us if someone dares to speak up on these issues and how they impact them. So I appreciate the fact that we're looking at these numbers, because we have real people who work for the Park District, and I think it's important for us to really take a look in the mirror. I have just a few questions. I would ask for our training and hiring managers, have they all taken the implicit bias training? I know that's our goal, but have they all taken the training yet?
I don't have the list with me of who's completed it, but I know we are capturing that information in Summit, and we are going to be producing reports that show who has yet to finish, but it is mandatory training.
Okay, so we will be getting there. And I wanted to also speak a little bit to something that Anne brought up with regard to, I think bridge programs are really important. We do have some. We talked a little earlier today about Civic Corps and the opportunity to use those as opportunities to bring more diverse employees to our organization, and also obviously environmental education programs and the Richmond Rangers. They're all opportunities to create bridges to diversify our workforce. And we've spoken about the fires, the fuels crews as well as an opportunity for that. So I think looking at those opportunities, and we do have, obviously with COVID, this has been shut down a little bit. We do have a really strong history of having great youth employment workshops and fairs to allow us to bring in young people from all over our communities to come to work for us. So I'm really happy to see that we're doing this. And also in looking at the statistics as they break down, we know we can do this because we can see in the statistics for the police department in particular that there are strides. So obviously there's work being done there to help diversify the ranks of our public safety officers. And so we know that this is doable. There are bright lights in this data as well. So, thank you for bringing this to us. It's important information, and I hope we do remember that, we're talking about real people. So with that, that's all I have to say, but I look forward to our opportunity to continue to use this data, to be the park district that we are and we want to be. Dr. Alvarez?
Yes, thank you, President Corbett. Just a couple of things. I know that Deborah Acker got on the screen earlier on when we were listening to Director Lane. We do want to help you, Director Lane, because this is mostly in your computer, so we'll send an IS person to you. I also want to make sure that you see the charts because of all the reasons that we discussed here. So I'll make the slides available to the board members so you can see them and look at them in your own time, and happy to jump on a call to continue the conversation.
Well, I guess I would also like to say that I am interested in seeing the person who is presenting the PowerPoint or the program, but for myself, I don't need to see other people. So if you have, sorry, if you have one other person up there, doing the presentation, I could do without seeing everybody else who's in the meeting, and then you can see the entire screen.
Good point.
There's probably a way to format that.
Yes, there is. We will have. We're already working on that right now. Okay.
I don't know whether I'm by myself on that or
no.
not.
Madam President Corbett has the same issue. We'll get it fixed for you.
Yes, but I just like wave my hand and erase all the people, and I can see the the data. And then you go, I had my hand up. So that's the downside. Then I can't see you. So anyway, a really, really important report. Thank you so much for bringing it to us. And I know we will continue to work on this. So thank you. Anyone else want to say anything? Okay, thank you all very much. All right. Our next item on the agenda is board and staff reports. Actions taken by other jurisdictions. General Manager Doyle, there you are.
Thank you very much. We have two items here today. One really is from another jurisdiction, of course, which is the city of Fremont is actively pursuing trail connections to our local parks in the Fremont area. And we're very pleased that they're doing that. These are not our projects, but they will connect to Quarry Lakes and all the way out to Coyote Hills. So we're very, very happy to see the city of Fremont make an effort in both getting grants and other funding to do those local connectors. We like to look at the regional trail system like kind of it's the interstate or the main routes through our areas, but we really encourage the cities to make connectors to both parks, to transportation hubs, and to our own regional trails. And that's happening more and more all over the East Bay. And that's a very good thing. So I don't know if there's any questions on that.
That's positive news. Thank you.
The next one is the City of Hayward, our joint exercise of powers agreement with the Hayward Area Regional Shoreline Planning Agency. As you know, the district was an early founder of HASPA, and we're very happy to see this agreement extended. And I don't know if Director Waspy has any comments, but as you know, the shoreline area of Hayward and the jurisdiction of HASPA is very, very active, has very big challenges with climate change and sea level rise and king tides. And so we need to keep pursuing opportunities to address that. And there's no way that the East Bay Regional Park District could do it by itself. Thank you. I don't know if Dennis.
Director Waspy, would you like to add to that?
I think Robert's saying exactly what's true. It's these three agencies together dealing with the issue of the Hayward shoreline, the 12 miles of Hayward shoreline that this JPA covers. We're doing a shoreline master plan, and of note, that's why we only made the JPA go one more year. Traditionally, it's every 5 years, and a new agency takes over. The agency that's going to take over after next year will be the East Bay Regional Park District, which involves a lot of clerical work and some leadership, which I know we can do. But they kept it with Hayward simply because they started the process. They've initiated a lot of the permitting inquiries, things like that, and the EIRs and stuff like that. So they're just going to keep it for one more year. It's a good group, lots of stuff going on down there, and I always like to consider the Hayward shoreline as a test area for what's going on with sea level rise. And we got lots of levees that are unprotected and falling apart, and not a whole lot of entanglements with cities and stuff all around us. So we can do lots of great work down there and lots of studies. So look forward to a few more years down there and seeing what's going to happen.
Thank you, Director Waspy, and thank you for the substantial amount of time you invest in keeping track of these issues on our behalf. All right, thank you so much. All right, is that it, Mr. General Manager, on that item?
We can move into GM.
And then item 5 is GM comments, and I know he's going to introduce our aquatics chief, Pete DeQuincy. But before you do, Bob, I just wanted to make a comment to the board. Thank you so much for empowering me to sit on the EOC. And I just want to say, I know we'll hear more about this in this report, but I just want to let you know how impressed I am by the work of our aquatics chief, Mr. DeQuincy, and the work of the lifeguards who have been so involved and invested in our safety processes and making sure we're following CDC guidelines and we're protecting people and we're surveying people. It's really quite impressive, the reports that we hear weekly from Mr. DeQuincy. And I know he's going to say a lot more, but let me just say he's doing a great job. Mr. GM?
Thank you very much. You actually made statements that I more than agree with. And, one of the questions that comes up, and frankly, one of the things I found very sad this year was the fact that thousands of young children out for the summer in hot weather did not have the opportunity to swim at one of our many lakes or swim facilities, which I think is a tremendously valuable asset that the district has continued to do when many other agencies have shut down swimming prior years, including lake swimming. So really proud of the district's legacy. I want to also acknowledge Pat O'Brien, past lifeguard, swimmer extraordinaire, swam across the bay, and for his support for keeping aquatics available. As many of you know, if you're living on particularly Director Lane and Director Wieskamp, it's extremely hot in East County, both sides of Alameda and Contra Costa's East County. And we provide a tremendous amount of relief to families, shade with large picnic areas and swim facilities. And so without that happening this year, it was a big loss to a lot of people. And I know that was very difficult for our aquatics unit because they love to be out there helping people swim safely and being there to care for young people and families. But what we did do this year with the leadership and public safety from Chief Chaburo all the way down is the lifeguards have really played a key role in keeping us safe and providing PPEs, in providing data and talking to people about, how do we, the logistics of that. They are so well trained, they're so dedicated, and they basically shuttled all over the district to provide important backup facilities to get us through a lot of this. So I want to express my appreciation and hear from Pete what are all the different things they did other than being lifeguards in our lakes. So aquatic manager, Pete DeQuincy, longtime district employee and a great leader in the district. Pete.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President and Board, General Manager Doyle, Deputy General Manager Alvarez. Appreciate it. So I'm going to go into my PowerPoint here. Hopefully I can get this going. I forgot a little bit of how to do this, but we'll see if I can get it going. All right.
We don't see it yet.
Okay, let me make sure. So it's not. Okay, hold on. I will get it. I will make this happen. So it's been one of those days. So. All right.
There you go.
All right. Okay. So, this year was a big challenge, specifically in the fact of, just as everyone is saying, COVID came up as a big surprise for us, and we found that the lifeguard team really had to change what they were doing and reframe how they serve not only the community, but serve the agency as well. And so, let me see if I can get this going. Within March, we started to find and gather, and the staff started to do this thing, which was in March 6th, specifically, we started to realize that we needed PPE, disinfectant, and certain supplies so that we could keep our public safety department going. And we started looking around for that stuff. And then as the pandemic was officially identified and recognized, and as we went into shelter in place on March 19th, we had done a lot of the work to support the fire department and the police department, and we quickly realized that we would be supporting the entire park district. And again, here's a kind of picture of our supplies that we have and started to gather. And what was crazy about the supplies that you did see really required a workforce that not only found the supplies through private vendors, brought the supplies in, we had to fill, we had to label, we had to package, and then we had to distribute and build all of the stuff that was there in the months of March and April and May. And so it was very challenging because suddenly to think that you're going to provide for over 750 employees and 81 work sites was a big challenge, but we took it on and we built those.
Oh my God, I just realized I have this pin. I brought it.
Okay, I'll keep going. So staff built PPE and we did it for everyone. If you look here in the far bottom corner here, when you're looking at the supplies, those were just the supplies specifically for Peralta.
Excuse me just a moment, Pete. Yolanda, your microphone was on, but I see you've turned it off. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, and as we continued to do this, the Park District was gracious to absorb my team into the logistics branch, and that's what they did. And at the same time, we also took on, or I took on, the assignment as the infectious disease officer. And to be very honest with you, I had no idea what that entailed at that time, but I have a lot to say about it now. And I'll keep going. And again, when I talk about the PPE, it was for everyone, every employee that we had at every work site. And we did that. We did that 4 times. So the first time that we were called to action and we issued out the personal PPE for every person that we had, it took us 2.5 days to make sure that everyone had what they needed and they were safe. And then we were asked to do that again for KN95s. We were asked again to do it for temperature kits. And then the last time was N95s when the air quality was so bad. I want to really commend the lifeguard service team for stepping up and working closely with fire and logistics, because the last time that we had to get out to all 81 work sites, they were able to do it in a turnaround time, not 2.5 days, but less than 8 hours. And they made that happen. Let's just say they got really good. And when you look at some of the stuff, it's easy to talk about or easy to think that it's here. But just for instance, here, when we look at the temperature kits, those were not on the market. The first ones that we got took us over 3 months to find, and we had to place an order for them. And some of the concerns that we had when we were doing logistics is if we released a product or a PPP item, we wanted to make sure it was available to every work site, to all employees. And so if you only had 6, you couldn't release the 6. You had to have enough for everyone. And so again, we worked really hard at making sure that magic happened closely with central stores, with public safety, with logistics in general, but with park operations, so that when the time came to make it happened smoothly. It went out to everyone and everyone had access. And some of the other things that we did and we worked on, lifeguard service really worked with risk to do COVID site visits. We worked on training firefighters because firefighters and police personnel still need to go out every day. They still need the required training to make sure that they're in compliance. And we still needed to figure out a way to do it safely so that they would be successful and feel safe about what they're doing. And so we did that. And I want to commend Eric Nurse, Kyle Maxwell, Aaron Roth, Nellie Cazares, McKenna Stevelek, and Tyler Waspy. They did a fantastic job of taking these tasks and just moving with it. And as my chief would always say, we learned to adapt, we learned to be flexible, and we kept going. And again, this is in the time of a pandemic, civil unrest, wildfires, air quality, power outages. They kept it going. And so they did a fantastic job. And this was the big thing that came to me. And again, with the lifeguard service, we strive to deliver lifeguarding and protecting the public. And we do it on an annual basis of serving roughly 500,000 of our citizens in Alameda and Contra Costa County. And we weren't allowed to do that this year. And so we really looked in about how we could modify our mission and serve the agency. And when I talk about serving the agency, I'm really talking about serving the employees that really went out there and supported the parks, that made the parks possible and accessible to the public. Because I'm pretty sure that all of us have heard the record numbers of the visitations that we had this year. What we've talked about also the visitations of new park visitors this year, that every weekend was a holiday weekend in the size of the numbers, the demands, and how really parks are essential to everyone. And so I can't thank the district enough for providing that opportunity for my staff to support them in those kinds of things. One of the other big things that we did besides our PPE stuff is COVID. And I want to talk a little bit about the numbers of it. And so I'm going to go here. So currently, right now, you see a 1.6% population, total population of the people in Alameda and Contra Costa County are testing positive and have COVID. And what that number is as of today is 47,247. Okay. So if you apply that 1.6% to our workforce, all right, how many people is that? It should be 12, but we only have 6. Okay. And that comes out to let's see if it comes out to a testing positive of a 0.8%. Part of me at times continues to grapple with the idea that we have only have 0.8% are testing positive here at the Park District. Of those 6, 3 of them came from external. They got it not at work. And so it really had to do with the leadership that was above that made the determination to set protocols, to prioritize purchasing PPE. And it also came from middle management, came from the workforce. It was a group effort. I mean, I can't claim success for this, and I can't claim the lifeguard service with the success of this. It was everyone in, the whole agency in, for us to be that successful. I don't know any agency in the state that only has a 0.8% testing positive. So it's a lot to think about and to remember. I want to say on Thursday, which is going to be the 19th, that will be 8 months of shelter in place. So again, I want to commend everyone because it wasn't just us, it was an all in. So I'm more than happy to take any questions. If you have, please ask.
Thank you very much, Chief DeQuincy. Board members, do you have any questions or comments? And let me ask if Director Eccles, do you have any comments or questions? And Director Wieskamp, I can't see you either. Do you have any comments or questions?
I just think we should be I am so proud of everybody. Those lifeguards, their mission has been much more than their norm, and you're adapting to it. It's just amazing. Such a good example for all of us. I wish we maybe had you in charge of the nation right about now, trying to figure out what to do and how to go about doing it, because it seems like a lot of people have trouble with pretty simple things and sticking to it. And I hope they do better than I'm afraid they're going to do in a coming week at Thanksgiving. But congratulations to each and every one who participated in helping with that. That's very, very impressive. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Director Weiskin. Appreciate it very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Director Rosario?
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Pete and his whole department. Your turnaround and revisioning your jobs is akin to what the INR folks have done in pivoting and responding to our crises. And I just can't help but think that Dan McCormick, your predecessor, and his predecessor, Lucy Wolschlager, would be very, very proud of what you've done. And I think, and it's true what you say, this was a top to bottom effort to keep our rates so low. And I wanted to thank everybody. And also, I just wanted to offer my condolences on the loss of one of your own in Andy Lindemann. And yeah, so thank you. Thank you all. Please thank everyone in your staff. And I congratulate the Park District as well, all the employees on their efforts. And please do not keep going. Don't relax yet.
Don't relax.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rosario. Really appreciate your kind words.
Thank you. Anyone else like to weigh in? Director Lane?
Well, I just want to say how remarkable the ability to shift and look at what needs to be done and the innovation that came out of your area and the whole public safety area. I'm just blown away at how well you did. And I know people criticize so often, but I'm really proud of what the Park District managed to accomplish. And going from 2 full days to 8 hours of distribution must, about 5 people must have been really gratifying for you to see. So we're not out of this yet. We still have some challenges that are going to come up, but I totally appreciate the statistic you have there, which says a great deal about how responsible everybody was throughout the district to try and take care of themselves and the public. So thank you again, Pete.
Thank you, Director Lane. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other board members want to jump in before I call on GMs and AGMs? I'll say something at the end. I see Mr. Doyle and I see Mr. O'Connor. You guys want to arm wrestle? Who goes first? Mr. GM?
I don't think Jim wants to do that. So I just want to remind everyone that we were asked specifically by the health departments and all the way to nationally not to use N93 masks at the beginning of this because of the lack of supply for hospitals, nurses, first responders. And then later we had the same year, the fires, the same year, the smoke. And then we were told that the KN93 masks that we were using were not the right ones for smoke. So we had to redistribute N93s for smoke after doing everything we were asked to do for COVID. So I just think that's another layer of complexity and difficulty. I want to really thank the EOC and the Labor Task Force for helping us navigate through this, including the Deputy General Manager and Jim O'Connor and Chief Chaburo, because we did this distribution, we did all the PPEs we could do, and then we had an entirely different, and I consider it a crisis, with the smoke laying in the East Bay for over a week straight. And we had to give different masks for that. So that's just another example of adaptation for very quick response, to listen, to discuss, to get the right answers from health departments and get the PPEs out to our staff. I really think that's a remarkable accomplishment in addition to all the work on COVID. Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much to everybody.
I would just like to add to that in watching the EOC, at the EOC level, the remarkable way, we were hit with this pandemic, like who'd ever seen anything like that before? And all of a sudden we had to go from 0 to 150 at least, like in 2 seconds. and then find the non-N95 masks. So bits and pieces were being found and ordered and being made available for a distribution network that was put together overnight, which was also remarkable, bringing everything together and then all of the sudden having this ability to just move things out to where they needed to be, like yesterday. So it was just really amazing to watch the dedication and also all of the logistics and planning efforts that went into it by all the people that Pete has already mentioned, and Jim O'Connor and Anthony Chaburo, our AGMs, as well as our GM supporting that. It was just amazing to see. And it was just so nice to know. It was like, well, who would ever think that we sort of had a built-in network to do this? But we did. And people sort of, changed gears and made that work. It was really remarkable to see. Thank you, Chief DeQuincy. And he has his hand up, and AGM O'Connor has his hand up too. Who would like to go first? AGM O'Connor, real quick.
I just want to add into the commending Pete and his staff. Whenever we have a problem in the park district, a major emergency, what we all do is we pull together. And whatever disagreements we have go out the door, and we pull together and we do what's right for both the public and our staff. And this was just what I call the best of the park district. And Pete's team during the early days of this pandemic just showed the best of the park district. And on behalf of the operations division, I just want to say thank you, Pete, to you and your team. It was essential in making things work and calming operations staff, who were already trying to manage these giant crowds in parks. And that was really essential in making it work for them. So thank you very much.
Chief DeQuincy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. O'Connor, AGM O'Connor, for your kind words. I do, and everyone, I can't thank you enough. Again, I'm only one person, and it was the team that really came together in that regard. I do want to point out one thing that maybe is not apparent. The guidelines and protocols that this park district determined and figured out and implemented, we have not seen a positive COVID case because of our interactions with our public, with the duties and assignments that any of us have done in regards to cleaning bathrooms, picking up trash, engaging specifically with the public in any sort of way. And I personally have assessed over 100 cases, not cases, but assessments so far. And still, that's not where it's coming from. Our parks are safe, our employees are safe, and we're quick to respond on that. And again, I'm just one person, and it's been a whole team effort to make that happen. And again, it's 8 months is a long time. So I just want to remind everyone that it's all of us doing this together. So thank you.
Thank you for not letting any fake news or politics distract you from your course of work. You'd make Dr. Fauci very proud. And I see you, Chief. Chief Chaburo, did you want to make a quick statement? I see you popping up there.
Absolutely. I just really, Pete, dogged, determined, and on duty, and you exemplify that. And I commend and thank you for your efforts. They really represent the best of the park district. Also, you and the command staff have really just pulled together in public safety with fire, lifeguards, and police, and it's greatly appreciated. And it's a symphony that's working, and everybody is hitting the right note. So again, I thank you for that. And then just also the rest of the district. It's really a team effort, and having the experience coming from a municipality, this certainly highlights the difference in a park district and how we handle problems and how we succeed. So again, congratulations, Pete. Thank you very much. And I commend you, lifeguards, and also the command staff and public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? I do see Captain Breed in our boxes. Would you like to say something too? Or are you just there smiling at us?
I'm smiling, but I'll echo whatever everyone else has said. This is a complete team effort. The entire park district came together, top to bottom, to tackle the COVID pandemic, and we continue to do so. And I think that exactly what Pete talked about our rates of infection and our different things that we put in place very early on made a huge impact And we're seeing that day in, day out, and we continue to adjust our protocols and procedures for various things, and we'll continue to do so. Great job.
And I don't know if anybody else wants to weigh in, but I do see District Council Victor, and I also want to thank her for her heroic efforts too, to also make sure that we steer clear of any issues with compliance and all the extra efforts she has put in, along with the others, to make sure that we're all dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So thank you for that.
Well, that is very kind. Thank you. And we really were just behind the scenes, and with our army of two other attorneys and HR, and there was a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes. But keeping our parks open has been the goal for this agency. And I just am so proud of our public safety and operations staff in terms of what they've accomplished. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Yeah, Ellen, can you hear
Standing
me?
ovation. Yes, yes.
Can you hear?
Director Eccles, please.
Yes, I would also like to really echo all of the accolades for this wonderful teamwork, and thank you for keeping folks as safe as possible, and really appreciate your great work, and yeah, keep it up because we're not done yet. So thank you.
For sure.
Thank you all. Well, this is a lovely ending to a very long meeting. Thank you all. The clerk is reminding me that we do have a public comment on this item. We have Mr. Abreu who would like to make a comment too. So please let Mr. Abreu in.
I think I muted myself. So
there you are.
The problem with this pandemic is that they kept changing the rules, and first they said one thing, and then they said another thing, and so the rules, the changes, the advice, the fears, everything keeps changing, and it makes it very hard. So there's always a need for certain things in big organizations because people everywhere have the same needs. Things come up over and over again. And that's organizational development, leadership, and motivational speaking. So I'd volunteer Chief DeQuincy to lead a few educational seminars and problem solving, brainstorming sessions for the other departments. I think he'd be do a great job of that. He should have a sideline in HR. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. He might be a little busy right now, so you'll have to wait a little. But thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. That was a staff presentation. No vote necessarily, but again, standing ovation for everybody. Really, really, really appreciate all of you. You make us very proud. Thank you. All right, announcements from closed session, District Council.
President Corbett, there are no announcements from closed session.
Okay, great. Board committee reports. I'll start with executive committee. I have nothing more to add than what's been presented to you. And Director Waspy, Chair of Legislative Committee, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else to add other than that we're working doggedly.
Thank you very much. Get the federal government to send people some more money, okay?
Wow.
Yeah, pay for those PPEs. Thank you. All right, it is time for board comments. Dennis, you're the first one in the box next to me, so I'm picking you.
I knew you'd do that.
Sorry.
So since our last board meeting, we had a meeting, the board meeting on Friday the 6th. I had a meeting that evening with members of the union discussing some of their concerns. On Tuesday the 10th, I took the implicit bias training. It was well received and very interesting and informative training. I attended the Castro Valley Sanitary District Community Advisory Committee meeting on Thursday, and have been hiking in parks and look forward to hiking in the rain.
Yay, why not?
All right. Director Rosario?
Thank you. Let's see. On 11/9, I also met with ASME 2428 leadership, and then on 11/10, joined my colleagues, President Corbett and Director Eccles, and we met with Nancy Skinner. And then on the 12th, I was invited and happily attended the Regional Parks Foundation annual meeting, and also their workshop on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they had a guest speaker there, Darlene Flynn, who was the DEI officer for the city of Oakland. She was just amazing. And President Corbett thought we're going to try and bring her to make a presentation to our full board of directors, because she was absolutely a wonderful speaker. And then on that evening of 11/12, I also met with the Black Employees Collective, and we talked about the naming for Concord Naval Weapons Station. I encourage everyone to reach out to them for their perspective. And then on 11/13, I did a taped, I did some kind of taping for an event with the INR. We met out there at the Serpentine Prairie. And then on the 16th, I attended the Workforce Diversity Committee meeting. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Rosario. Director Lane?
Greetings from the homeland of the Totcon people, who are Bay Miwoks. They were here in Danville.
Way to go.
I think I'm going to do that quite a bit. Since our last meeting, I had a chance to go in the parks a couple of times. Iron Horse.
She's going to fight us.
Iron Horse Trail.
Yolanda, your mic is still on.
With a friend of mine, for the first time, I hiked around San Pablo Dam and their Briones properties off of Bear Valley. It's very beautiful, I have to say. Lots of people there as well. And then I went on the Lafayette Moraga Trail with my great nephew, who went looking for a geocache that we couldn't find. But it was really nice to see the trail. Evidently, we've repaved part of it. It's by the community center and then over the bridge. It looked really wonderful. And if you want to know on a Sunday where people are, they're on the Lafayette Moraga Trail. Then meetings, Colin and GM Doyle and myself and Eric had a meeting with Congressman DeSaulnier, a Zoom meeting with him and Chanel. And a lot of what he wanted to talk about was the name of Concord Hills Park. And,
oh my.
And so, I am looking forward to our making a decision in a couple of months, because this is getting to be the most popular topic that I've ever seen. And there are many issues there, as you know, including Concord wanting it to be called Concord Hills. So we get to balance things. And we did, however, have a chance to talk about a number of other things at that meeting. And one of them had to do with, of course, looking to get some federal money to help us with the cost of the visitor center at Concord Hills. Then I had a chance to talk to Chris Newey about some Ask Me concerns. And in the future, I'm looking forward to the stewardship seminar. I'll be able to do that tomorrow morning, but not Thursday. And then on Friday, to go to Bay Point and be part of that opening. I'm really ready to see that happen, because it's one of my favorite little parks. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lane. Director Wieskamp?
Yes, we had a LAFCO meeting, and the most important thing was Carl Wente made a presentation on the wine country as an ag business and the problems they face. And I think they're real, but I think whatever we can do to help them understand and make progress there helps the Park District, because as far as I'm concerned, they're great open space, even if it's with wine. And now we know with Chouinard, we'll sort of be in the same business. If there's an opportunity, I think it might be nice for maybe a subcommittee to see that, because I do think it's interesting. And I did ask for LAFCO to get a presentation on Measure D and see the interplay between the ag business and open space. So we'll be having that at LAFCO. I only had a few RINs, but believe me, there are still people who want the real paper. I'm afraid they're going to be disappointed, because I think we're going to have to go back from what we were promising and opening it up. But at least they'll know who to call and what to do about it. I had a great conversation with Terry Noonan. He said it's a different business with lots of Zooms, fewer miles on the road. There's a lot of staff changes in all of his parks, but he said they still are handling greater crowds than they expected, and everybody's holding up reasonably well. I would like us to, whenever staff has time, to talk about what progress we're making on the subject of reopening our main business at Peralta Oaks, and what are the obstacles? Because I think it would be good for us to at least start understanding if it's even going to be possible in the reasonable future. That's it.
Thank you very much, Director Wieskamp. And I'm happy to announce Director Eccles' internet is working.
Oh my gosh.
Director Eccles.
Hi, everybody.
Yay!
Well, this is like an extreme case of better late than never. My gosh. Wow.
You made it. Come on.
Good to see everybody's smiling faces. Yeah, sitting in a cold car in the rain all day is not my idea of fun, but yes, better than nothing. Anyway, okay, so so is it my turn or is someone else?
Yes, it is your turn. Perfect time.
While you're here.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's see. So on the 10th of November, me and a couple of other board members, Ellen Corbett and Dee Rosario, met with Senator Nancy Skinner on a number of issues. And then on the 11th, I attended the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee meeting. On the 12th, I did my implicit bias training, and I thought it was quite well done, very informative, very interesting. And then that afternoon, I had the opportunity to attend part of the Regional Park Foundation retreat, and Darlene Flynn, who's the Director of Race and Equity for the City of Oakland, was speaking, and really she was very, very inspiring. And this goes along well with the conversation we were having about diversity, equity, inclusion in our staffing. Her focus was on equitable access to parks, and what she had to say was very inspiring. And one of the things she said at the very beginning, she quoted Dr. Crystal Jones, who said, there's a big difference between all are welcome and this was created with you in mind. And so I've really been reflecting on that and thinking about that, and thinking about how we can really really get to true equitable access as opposed to equitable opportunity. So have the result where both our parks and our park staff really do reflect the full diversity of our community. So I think there's a lot of work to do, but there's I'm inspired by everything that I'm learning, and excited to work on that.
Thank you, Director Eccles. So nice to see you. Let me just add a few things. On November 7th, I attended the Martin Luther King Rally Committee. We're getting ready and putting final touches together for the rally that we have every January. It will not be in person this year. We will be virtual. So I will provide information for all of you so you can participate. I know many of you have participated over the years, and we also thank the foundation for also being supportive in the past and hoping to continue that as well. So on the 9th, I think it was the 9th, it was a Monday evening, I attended the meeting with AFSCME as well. And on the 10th, I attended the meeting with Senator Nancy Skinner. It's always so wonderful to connect with her on an advocacy basis because, as you know, she was a board member at one time, and so she gets us and is very supportive. So happy to report that. Also on the 10th, I attended a meeting with Mayor Ashcraft of Alameda along with AGM Jim O'Connor. And this is to continue a conversation that started with constituents about how we work together to lessen, not only make sure that we're doing everything we can, and we are doing a fabulous job of keeping those beaches clean and picking up trash, but trying to work with merchants in Alameda at the site where people pick up their to-go containers to message to people to remember to either not, sort of employ non-single use products, but also to remember when they pick up their food to go and they go to the beach, that they place such containers in receptacles. So we're working on a great project there, and Jim had some great ideas, and the mayor wants to involve some of the creativity of the school children in Alameda as well. So it sounds like it will be a very positive project. On the 12th, I also attended the Regional Park Foundation retreat. Thank you, AGM Carol Johnson. It was really great. And I will echo what my fellow board members have already said. Darlene Flynn gave a fabulous conversation. And she also spoke about scenarios where sometimes groups, not on purpose, but are pitted against each other, and how to work with groups to ensure recognition of histories and how important that is. And so obviously that's quite timely for us as well in our discussions with regard to Concord Hills. And let's see. Also on the 12th, I also met with the Black Employees Association along with Director Rosario, and thank you to the employees for meeting with us and joining us. And on the 16th, I attended the Workforce Diversity Committee, so yesterday. So with that, that's what's been keeping me busy, at least virtually. So thank you all very much. It's been a great meeting. Does anybody have any closing comments before we adjourn? Anything else we need to do? All right, well then, great to see you all. Be safe. Thank you to all of our amazing employees and all the beautiful work that they are doing during these difficult. Yes, thank you, everybody.
Elizabeth deserves accolades for hanging in there in her cold car.
Oh gosh, yes, Elizabeth, what a trooper you are. Thank you.
That's why they reelected you. They knew you would do that.
All right, take care.